on a number of platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course TikTok, along with our Fox Local platform. As I mentioned, we're tracking a lot of different developing stories right now, including the death of Ted Turner. But the story that a lot of people are also talking about has to do with the weather. We are expecting a change over the course of the next few hours. We've already seen some storms up in North Georgia. You're looking at a shot right now on the left side of your screen from a resort cam that is in Brasstown Bald. It looks like very overcast up there, and it looks like some rain has been coming down over the last hour or so. Let's get a check of the forecast with Fox 5 Storm Team meteorologist Lauren Robinson. And Lauren, this is obviously a storm alert day here. We're expecting some severe storms to come through. I know there's a potential for tornadoes, wind, and also hail as well, right? What can you tell us?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Tyler. And we're also going to watch for some flooding potential with these storms bringing a lot of rain all at once. So right now is going to be your dry time. If you need to run any errands or you have those outdoor activities, I suggest to maybe do them now and maybe start to wrap them up by around 2, 3 o'clock, maybe 4 at the very latest, especially depending on where you are. If you're further north, those storms will start sooner. If you're in Metro Atlanta and even south of the I-20 corridor, you have a bit more time to get outdoors before the storm reaches southern areas. But let's go ahead and first start with a live look outside. You can see Atlanta's still dry, even some sun poking in between the clouds, but it's the calm before the storm. We are still expecting some severe weather for the second half of our day and into the overnight hours, and that is why we have a storm alert day issued for today. We're at 79 degrees right now. We're going to see those highs climb a few more degrees into the lower 80s, a lot like what we saw yesterday. We have a good amount of cloud cover. We have winds coming in from the south at around 13 miles per hour. Those gusty winds are going to become a big issue once those storms get closer. Those winds are going to start to ramp up a bit. Now we're at 56% relative humidity, still a bit muggy out there, but let's go ahead and take a look at these temperatures all across North Georgia, because when it comes to severe weather, our humidity and our temperatures are going to be our biggest drivers for those storms to become stronger and stronger. So you'll notice most of North Georgia is still in the middle to upper 70s. We have made it to 81 degrees in Covington, and all of this warm air, warm, moist air is continuing to push in from the south and southwest. So we're going to continue to watch for that to ramp up those storms as we go through the rest of the day. Now, the cold front hasn't approached us yet, and that's why we're still pretty calm. But once it does, we're looking for those storms to push their way in. We can see that here on our live Viper radar. Here's the cold front that'll eventually move its way eastward, and as it does, we're going to get some strong weather. Now, ahead of that cold front, we did already see some scattered showers and storms across the far northern counties. Those have already started to dissolve a bit as they've moved eastward, and that's where we're seeing that overcast sky up north in Brasstown Bald. But as we go through the rest of the day, that's when we're expecting the severe weather. So if you're up north and you got those showers and storms already this afternoon, don't let that psych you out. That's not the severe weather we're expecting. The severe weather will come for the second half of our day. We can see that here as we continue to move our way through our hour-by-hour forecast. By this evening, this is when this front finally starts to push through. As it does, we're expecting that severe weather in the area. That sticks around overnight and into early tomorrow morning before that front finally passes us by tomorrow afternoon. Now, by tomorrow afternoon, once the front passes by, we're on the cool side of it. So we will get some sunshine, but we'll also see those temperatures fall a bit into the 70s as we move into our Thursday, and then we stay a bit drier even as we go into our Friday before more rain chances kick in for the weekend. Now, let's take a closer look at what we're expecting. Again, we stay pretty dry as we go through the early afternoon hours. By time 3, 4, 5 o'clock hits, this is when that strong weather will start to push into the northern counties. You'll notice most of Metro Atlanta and areas south of the I-20 corridor still dry by around 4 or 5 o'clock this evening, 6 o'clock as well. As the system pushes its way southward, this is when we're expecting the strong weather in Metro Atlanta and along the I-20 corridor by around 7, 8, 9 o'clock this evening. So if you're further south, then that means you'll get the stronger weather later in the evening. But we will see a couple of rounds as we go through the overnight hour. Here's another round pushing in by around 2, 3, 4 a.m. And then we could see some lingering showers by time you're heading out for that morning commute tomorrow. But you'll notice tomorrow's showers and storms are a bit more isolated. They're less widespread. Most of us will wake up to some cloud cover, but here's where you could see maybe some hit or miss showers by time you're heading to work and school tomorrow. Then tomorrow afternoon, that front finally clears us. We get some afternoon sunshine and those temperatures fall into the 70s. Now, let's talk about how severe we're expecting these storms this evening and into the overnight hours. The strongest storms are looking to fall just west of us into central portions of Mississippi and Alabama. But as we zoom into Georgia, especially across our viewing area, a good portion of our viewing area has been upgraded to this level 2 out of 5 for severe weather. So what does that mean for us? Well, that means that storms overhead this evening could bring some damaging winds. That's going to be our biggest threat. Very gusty winds that could cause some damage, maybe upwards of 60 miles per hour. Now, also we're going to expect some moderate to large size hail and maybe even a pop-up tornado or two. Now, with these storms coming mostly during the dark hours after the sun has set and during the overnight hours, you really want to pay attention to Fox 5 or keep your mobile app handy because you won't be able to see any sort of tornadoes approaching. And that's why we'll be staffed here at Fox 5 overnight and into the day tomorrow to make sure that we can go live on air if there is any sort of imminent danger in the area. In addition to that, we have a flood watch that'll be active this afternoon through tomorrow morning. And that's because in addition to those other threats, some of those storms are going to drop a lot of water in a short amount of time. And you might be thinking, well, that's good news. We're in the middle of a drought. It is good news, but with a drought, you get very hardened, dry soil. And when you get so much water in a short amount of time, the soil can't absorb it all. And that's when you start to get runoff, and that's when you start to see flooding waters. So with most of us expecting a couple inches of rainfall, some areas could see up to 4 inches of rain. That's where you want to watch for any sort of flooding potential overnight and into tomorrow morning. So ahead of those storms, we're going to see those temperatures in the low 80s. That's going to give it some fuel with that warm weather. So we're going to continue to hold on to our storm alert day today. Some of those showers and storms linger into tomorrow morning, then we dry out midday. Temperatures fall into the middle 70s. Slight rain chances for our Friday, then we could see some morning showers Saturday, but our larger shower and storm chances look like they're going to return to the forecast just in time for Mother's Day. So as you're heading out for that Mother's Day brunch and those temperatures warming back up into the low 80s, you want to make sure you're packing that umbrella and staying tuned to the forecast as you head out on Mother's Day as well. Tyler?
Yeah, Lauren, a quick question for you. You were talking about, obviously, we could get some flash flooding. Could that be exacerbated by the fact that we are in drought-like conditions here and like the soil may not be able to absorb all of that as quickly?
Yeah, Tyler, and that's what I was mentioning when I said our soils are going to be dried and hardened because we're in such a drought, and so because they lack their porosity. They're not as porous as they would be if they were a bit more saturated. So it's almost like you have a plant, and if it's dry, most of that water is going to run off the top. Whereas it's not a healthy plant, it won't kind of seep in. That's what we're going to see widespread, and especially in any sort of urban or downtown areas where it's heavily cement. That also adds to that flooding and that runoff capability. So we really want to watch for the amount of rain that we're going to get in the short amount of time between this evening and tomorrow morning to in some ways it helps with our drought, but in some ways the drought also makes conditions worse. As you were mentioning, the soils just won't be able to take all of that water, and that's where you get the runoff, and that's where you get the flooding potential as we go into tomorrow morning. Yeah, and Lauren, you know that obviously this is a live conversation on TikTok right now. Someone commented how we do it. Oh, hail no. I think that's what everyone's probably feeling, especially with the severe weather possibilities at level 2 risk. But we know you guys are going to keep us all up to date. Absolutely. And if you do have the possibility, or if you do have the ability to maybe park your cars in a garage, anything like that overnight, certainly look into that because we are expecting those hail chances. Really good advice. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're going to be fine-tuning that forecast throughout the day. You and the rest of the Fox 5 Storm team, I appreciate you joining us here at 1 o'clock. And as we continue on this busy Wednesday afternoon, we want to talk about a story that you probably got a push alert about just a few hours ago, and that is the death of Ted Turner, the outspoken media maverick who revolutionized global television by founding CNN. Well, he died today at 87 years old. Turner Enterprises confirmed his death, marking the end of a career that reshaped news, sports, and philanthropy. Turner transformed a small Atlanta television station into a global powerhouse by using
satellite technology to create the first, what was known as a superstation back in 1975. He then launched CNN in 1980 as the first 24-hour news channel, later adding brands like TNT, Cartoon Network, and Turner Classic Movies to his portfolio. And obviously, you guys know what CNN is now, that massive news operation 24/7, and a number of other news channels also came to be. Fox News Channel, along with MS Now, some other ones as well. Well, Turner also expanded into professional sports, owning the Atlanta Braves and Atlanta Hawks during highly successful eras for both franchises. And then Turner was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year back in 1991 for his influence on global events and media. And while Turner Enterprises confirmed his death occurred Wednesday, they did not release exactly his cause of death. Well, obviously, we'll be learning that over the course of the coming hours and days. And obviously, details regarding his funeral arrangements or public memorials have not been announced. And obviously, beyond television, Turner was a massive philanthropist, and he pledged $1 billion to the United Nations and founded the Nuclear Threat Initiative. And so there's a lot to talk about him. And so we do have Kevin Stewart working on a story right now, looking back at his life and legacy. But I want to talk about some of the statements that we've been getting from officials here in the state of Georgia, mainly our governor, Brian Kemp. He has released this statement that you're looking at right now. I'm going to get rid of our graphics so you can read it fully. Well, it reads, Ted Turner led a life as big as the American dream he lived. Through his varied contributions to the world of business and civic leadership, he helped drive Atlanta, our state, and the nation to new achievements. His media empire reimagined the American news cycle and broadcast TV as we know it, ultimately making his beloved Atlanta Braves America's team for decades. Ted Turner was a bold man, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, and even those who at times strongly disagreed with him respected him. That legacy continues to impact us today and ensures that he will be remembered by Georgians, Americans, and others around the world for many years to come. Marty, the girls, and I hold the Turner family in our prayers as they mourn Ted's passing. And the Atlanta Braves also released a statement today, reading in part, quote, our good friend and former owner Ted Turner was one of a kind, a brilliant businessman, consummate showman, and a passionate fan of his beloved Braves. Ted's visionary leadership and innovative approach to broadcast television transformed the Braves into America's team. Under his stewardship, the ball club experienced one of the greatest runs of sustained excellence in Major League Baseball and brought a World Series championship to Atlanta in 1995. They say and added in their statement, we will miss you, Ted. You helped make us who we are today, and the Atlanta Braves are forever grateful for the impact you made on our organization and our community. Obviously a big impact. Ted Turner died today at the age of 87. We're going to be talking more about his life and legacy later on in this hour and throughout the rest of the afternoon here on Fox 5 News Live. And continuing on this Wednesday afternoon, another thing that is impacting a lot of folks, that is going to be the gas prices. We know that Georgia drivers are seeing a sharp rise in gas prices as the conflict in the Middle East continues to impact fuel costs. If you've gone to a gas station over the last 24, 36, 48 hours, you have definitely noticed it. According to AAA, Georgia's average price for regular unleaded gasoline climbed to just under $4 a gallon overnight. That marked an increase of nearly 14 cents in a single day and about 35 cents more than just a week ago. Gas hits a $4.50 nationwide, nearing $4 in Metro Atlanta. So obviously lots of people looking at that. At one gas station in DeKalb County, regular unleaded was selling at $4.28 overnight. I saw similar stuff out in Atlanta's Midtown. Also downtown, prices are obviously elevated in that area as well. AAA data showed regular unleaded gas in Georgia was selling for about $2.91 at the same time last year, unfortunately impacting a lot of folks in our area who are going to have to fill up over the course of the next little bit to be able to continue what they need to do to go from place to place. And as we come back in here, another story we're following has to do with DeKalb School schools. They have, we got an update on their plans, including their controversial plan to close or convert dozens of schools. And obviously that has prompted some backlash from local families who don't want to see their schools shut down. DeKalb County school officials have delayed the, quote, student assignment project after parents raised concerns about two separate proposals affecting more than nearly 24 schools. The district says the project is necessary to balance overcrowding in some areas while filling empty seats in others where enrollment is low. We heard from the superintendent. We also heard from parents. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
A lot of unanswered questions, a lot of the same questions about data validity and about the overall process that haven't really been answered. It's indicative of the fact that the work is not done and that we still have a long way to go before we think there is a good, data-driven, equitable decision made for all of DeKalb County students.
We have schools where students are packed into classrooms and trailers. Teachers are stretched thin. Space is running short. We also have schools where empty seats create a different but equally real challenge. Fewer AP courses, fewer arts programs, fewer electives, fewer of the opportunities that make a school experience whole, that make the student experience whole. But I do want to be clear about something. No decisions have been made. Nothing will be recommended to the Board of Education until your community has had an opportunity to be part of shaping it. This is not just something we say, it's how this process will work.
Again, that was the superintendent speaking there, the interim superintendent, along with parents. This obviously has a lot of concern for folks. They don't want to see their children having to go to different schools. A lot of backlash on this, and this is a story that we're continuing to follow after they have paused their plans to close or combine schools for now. But this is a story we will stay on top of and bring you any developments as they happen. Let's take you to the state capitol now. Today, Governor Brian Kemp signed the Early Literacy Act. And a major education package. It went into law today, advancing new policies focused on literary math instruction, along with student safety in Georgia's schools. Among the measures signed was House Bill 1193, known as the Georgia Early Literacy Act of 2026. The legislation was introduced in February and sponsored by House Speaker John Burns. According to Burns, only 1 in 3 students can read at grade level by the end of the 3rd grade. Under the new law, Georgia will place dedicated literacy coaches directly into schools and expand kindergarten offerings and create a statewide literary task force. The legislation is intended to strengthen reading skills early in a child's education. Let's take a listen to what Kemp had to say as he was signing this bill into law.
We know that for students to have success both in and beyond the classroom, they need a strong foundation in literacy and reading comprehension. If young learners fail to learn how to read at the start of their educational careers, they'll struggle to read to learn during the rest of their academic journeys. This bill is a monumental step in our years-long work to ensure students have the literacy skills they need.
Yep, that was signed into law. Obviously, good news for students to hopefully make sure that they can read at grade level. Vitally important as they continue on in their educational endeavors. Again, we'll see how that affects students going forward now that it is the law of the state of Georgia. We have a lot going on today, as you can tell, but I want to get a check of the other day's top stories and the things that we are working on right now in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Let's check in with Fox 5 assignment manager Tanya Mendoza. She's standing by at her assignment desk. Hey, Tanya, what are we working on? I think one of the big things that I saw earlier has to do with 285 construction project that is going to affect a lot of folks who may be trying to get from north to south over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, so this is a major traffic alert and a reminder for everybody starting Friday. You'll want to avoid I-285 on the west side. All lanes of 285 between Martin Luther King Drive and Cascade Road will be shut down. They won't reopen until the following Monday. Even if you don't travel on I-285, GDOT says the spillover traffic could cause delays across the region. That includes potential backups on I-20, I-75, I-85, and Langford Parkway. So you're going to want to avoid the west side this weekend if possible. I do want to mention all of this is part of a $206 million reconstruction project spanning 10 miles. So it's a big deal. They do have a few required detour. So southbound I-285 is diverted to I-20, I-75, I-85 southbound, and westbound I-285 will be diverted to Service Road 166, Langford Parkway. And you should look on, if you're traveling on the highway, for the overhead message boards and roadside signage for guidance. Tyler?
Yeah, people really need to be planning ahead their route anywhere they go this weekend, because all that detour traffic are then going to go through busy thoroughfares on the downtown connector. So people are going to have to be extremely careful, or they're going to get stuck in traffic.
Annie Mapp, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but Annie is putting together a full story on this for our newscast today. And then I believe Friday morning, Good Day Atlanta is going to have someone out covering this live, just to remind everyone in advance and to let them know about the delays, because it's going to be a big headache for everyone.
Yeah, and they've had different road closures at different points throughout different parts of Atlanta and the metro Atlanta area. So we know how quickly construction can cause problems on the roads. So that's something people are going to want to be aware of. Another story I know we're tracking has to do with the Fulton County Jail. And I know an inmate we've been talking about had lost a limb while he was behind bars.
Yeah, that's right. So we've been talking about this story for a couple of weeks now. This gentleman, you'll see him right there. His name's Rashad Muhammad. He was at the Fulton County Jail and in need for medical attention. He says he had asked for antibiotics and that there was a critical delay in him getting medication. He went to the hospital, was in a coma, woke up, and his legs were amputated and some of his fingers as well. So a really, really sad story for Rashad Muhammad. But what he and his attorneys are trying to do is get the word over to the Fulton County Commission. And they held a rally outside the commission this morning with community activists, his attorney, Van Crump, and others, and they're asking for this to be front and center for the commission. So that's what's going on. Angelique Proctor is there. They were speaking in front of the commission in the public comment section. Then they were scheduled to have a press conference after. She's going to have the full story later today.
Interesting to hear what they had to say when they joined Fox 5 News Live at 2 and 3 o'clock to give us that update. And let's talk about one more story, and this has to do with the arrest of an Atlanta artist. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, a rap artist. His name is Donald Anderson. He goes by the name of Jay Wick. He was in the Panama City area in April. And basically on April 25th, there was a shooting and it was near the beach, I believe, at a beach access 83 is what the Bay County Sheriff's Office is saying. An 18-year-old male was found with multiple gunshot wounds. So a witness identified Anderson as the shooter, according to the Bay County Sheriff's Office. After the incident, he allegedly performed. So Anderson, they're saying later that night after this shooting that they are claiming he fled, he performed at Vibes nightclub in Panama City. So they say Anderson was there for some sort of 229 takeover weekend. And once they started investigating all of this, they say a security guard associated with Anderson heard the shots, and they're saying he moved the victim from the beach to the pavement. Deputies later found the victim alone. Following all of the surveillance video that they researched and interviews, and they even came to Atlanta, Anderson was taken into custody without incident on May 5th. Agencies involved include the Bay County Sheriff's Office, Panama City Beach PD, the United States Marshal's Office, APD, and Clayton County Police. A firearm was found on Anderson's person and at the time of the arrest. So yeah, that's a big deal in Panama City and here. I didn't really know who Jay Wick was. We did a little research here. He does have a following. Maybe people online might know who he is and want to comment on Twitter or TikTok or something and let us know more about this story and about Jay Wick.
Yeah, join us in the comments. We'll definitely read them if we get them. Super interesting story there about what happened, and thank you for the update on that story and all the other ones that we were working on here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. I do appreciate it, Tanya. Thanks for joining us. As we continue on this Wednesday afternoon, we still have a lot more ahead here on Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock. We're going to be checking in with our digital content team to talk about what's trending. We're also going to be talking more about the death of Ted Turner. Stick with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock. Thanks for sticking with us. We're going to be talking about something that is vitally important for people's health care. The Winship Cancer Institute of Emory University and Cobb County Public Library are working together to help close health barriers and disparities. Our Maria Guzman is joining us now with the details on what is happening today and how they're going to help people get health care.
Hi, Tyler. Yes, this parking at the Schweitzer Library has honestly been turned into a mobile clinic for free screening for prostate cancer. And just like you mentioned, this is a huge partnership with Emory Winship as well as with Cobb County Library. Now, inside, there are actually some people already that are undergoing the screening. It's just started about an hour and a half ago. But a big reason why they're doing this, right, why they're providing this free service for people in our community is because they want to make it more accessible for people to get these type of screenings, and also just for any early detection, and to also just close any health barriers that might exist that can keep people away from going to the doctor. Now, just for some background on why this is so important here, Georgia ranks 5th in the nation for prostate cancer cases, and it's also the second leading cause of cancer deaths in men across Georgia. So I spoke to some people who are helping to make this happen, and we spoke about the needs, right, and also just some of the misconceptions that are that exist regarding the screening. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
The biggest need is definitely the awareness. Like, a lot of men, unfortunately, that are 45, 55, 60 are just like, I've never had this screening done in my life. So it's like, what is it? What are we looking for? What are my levels and things like that? So we see there's a lack of knowledge there. There's a lack of just information in general, not just knowledge, but just information. We hear about, breast cancer.
So just like he mentioned, there's just a lot of misconceptions that exist, or people just have a wall that keeps them from going into the doctor or to someone to receive help. Now, they're going to be here for several times the next 2 months, I believe for about 7 times. So you still have a chance to either go in the future or to still make it out here today. They're going to be here all the way until 3:30 this afternoon, and they were explaining to me just how easy and fast this process is. It's all done through a blood exam, and it can be taken, for example, up to just to 10 minutes to get your results back. So it's efficient, it's free, and it's on the go, and it's on wheels. So that's a big reason why they're here at this parking lot. Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important that they're doing something like this. Prostate cancer is deadly, and I'm glad that they're able to go into communities and make it super simple for people to be able to know maybe their risk factors, or obviously if they're dealing with it, so that they can be able to make a change. Maria, thank you so much for bringing us this story, and hopefully people can take advantage over the course of the next several times they'll be doing this. Maria, thank you. And as we come back into our newsroom here, we are continuing to follow the death of Ted Turner. We're going to be checking in on that and his legacy, including the media landscape. We'll be talking about that just ahead. Fox 5 News Live at Fox 5 News Live at 1 continues after this. And welcome back to Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock. We are continuing to look back at the life and legacy of Ted Turner, who was a true pioneer who didn't just change Atlanta, but truly did redefine the media landscape across the world. For more on his impact, especially right here at home, we're joined live by Rodney Ho with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And Rodney, thank you for being here. You obviously cover entertainment, you cover media in the Atlanta area. When you look at Ted Turner's legacy, what stands out most about his impact on Atlanta's media landscape?
I mean, Atlanta was just a small southern town in the late 70s, and he brought CNN, the very first 24/7 cable network, to Atlanta of all places. He didn't move to New York or LA. He chose to stay here and build CNN's, right here. And it still remains here in a sense. I mean, headquarters is effectively in New York, but they still have a huge operation here. So the legacy has not shifted in that sense. But, he turned CNN not just from a domestic operation, but an international one in over 200 countries. And I don't even think the 1996 Olympics would have ever made it here without the amount of exposure he gave Atlanta to the rest of the world. They saw Atlanta as a real city. Thanks to him.
Yeah, I mean, no, truly. How was he able to turn Atlanta into this global media hub? Because, I mean, when you think of media nowadays, you think of New York, you think of LA, you would think of maybe Washington, D.C. because of our nation's capital. How was he able to put Atlanta on the map for media?
By dint of his personality. I mean, he's the one who aggressively expanded CNN, around the world. That was, he cared about world peace. I mean, he didn't just talk about it. He really tried. I mean, he brought the Goodwill Games, which was kind of like his own version of the Olympics, to try and bring Russia and Cuba and a lot of these countries into the world, so to speak. And he wanted to save the world too. I got to meet him once to talk about Captain Planet. That was a 1990s cartoon that he brought to try and encourage kids to care about environmental causes. I mean, he cared about nuclear disarmament. He gave $1 billion to the United Nations. And I mean, he was truly an international diplomat from a media standpoint, and all of this out of Atlanta. And he lived here quite a bit. I mean, obviously he ended up buying, huge ranches in Montana, and he's got places all over the place. I think he passed in Florida in the end, but, he always had, and it's funny, if you go to Ted's Montana Grill, in downtown for many years, the AJC was downtown, and I would sometimes go over to Ted's Montana Grill for lunch, and guess who would just walk by? It would be Ted. He'd just come by and say hi to everybody.
I mean, CNN Center was right there up until recently. Now it's over at Techwood, over in the Midtown area. And you hit it.
You almost forget CNN Center was such a tourist attraction for a time. I mean, that was a dead zone before the Centennial Olympic Park came along. CNN Center was really it. I mean, people would go there. The tours drew millions of people over the years. People wanted to see the anchors, and that was all his idea, was to make it a tourist attraction. And it is kind of sad that ultimately it was sold, and now Techwood, it's back to its original home in Techwood, but it's not accessible to the public.
Yeah. I remember going on a tour at one point of CNN Center, probably a little more than a decade ago, if not longer than that. It was kind of cool getting to see the inner workings, because obviously HLN was there. They have CNN International. You also have the Espanol. You have their CNN weather team based out of there. So it's kind of cool getting to see that inner workings. And obviously, as you mentioned, a tourist destination for a lot of folks.
Oh, they had that big CNN sign, and that became an Instagram focal point. And it was a big deal when they took that sign away. I think it was last year or a couple years ago that they took that sign and moved it to Midtown. It was kind of a sad day for everybody to lose the sign and effectively lose that location, which I forever I'll probably call it CNN Center. It's now just called the Center. I think they're redeveloping that space for something completely different.
And I mean, I remember seeing that picture before they removed it, all of the former CNNers, or maybe current CNNers as well, were there, and they all took a picture in front of
hundreds of them. Yes, it was. I was there for that event. Yeah, it was alma mater. So many former CNNers still live in town, and they run. They run the Hawks. They're at the History Center. I mean, the person who runs WABE used to work at Turner. I mean, the Turner Broadcasting legacy in Atlanta just stretches itself all over the place. In terms of all the people who work there.
You kind of hinted on this a little bit ago, that he was obviously way more than just a media mogul. He was a philanthropist and things like that. What do you think people most overlook about him?
I think that he was he was a playboy. I mean, he married Jane Fonda. He was such a multifaceted person. I think it's almost hard to forget, that he really cared about humankind. I mean, mankind. He wasn't just like a selfish, I want to spend my money to show off my super yacht or to fly into space. I mean, he really put his money where his mouth is. I mean, that's probably the big difference with him compared to maybe some of the other multi-billionaires out there.
Yeah. Do you think his influence is still being felt? Obviously, CNN, he long gone from CNN before he passed. But do you think his legacy is still living on inside of what CNN does every single day, or do you think that generation of what he helped start all those years ago is now kind of a thing of the past?
I mean, it's hard to believe he effectively left Turner and CNN in 2006. So it has been 20 years and multiple ownerships later. I think there is still some sense of Ted there. I don't think it's completely gone, but it has faded over time. There's no doubt. And I'm certain he was probably not thrilled by the directions that perhaps CNN has taken over the years, that he certainly wouldn't have done himself. But, he was in a position back in 96 to sell to Time Warner. I think he felt like either he was going to be a big player in the media world or get swallowed up, so he decided to sell at that point. And I don't know if part of him probably regrets it, having given up that control. Because he liked the control. He liked to make those decisions. But the media landscape has shifted. He left about the time Fox News began. You can imagine how different it was when CNN was the only game in town on cable news.
100%. I mean, so we're live streaming. This was obviously not something that happened back when he left. Exactly. We are live on a number of social media platforms that also did not exist. Like I'm staring at my TikTok right now, looking at the comments because we're live streaming on TikTok. Yeah. What do you think the younger people who may not have known the name Ted Turner until maybe today, or maybe in the little bit of past they learned about him, why do you think his legacy, why should they think his legacy still matters today, or why does his legacy still matter today, you think?
I mean, you think about it, back in the late 70s, the only way you can get news was once a day with your newspaper. You waited till 6 p.m. for the newscast on TV. He's the very first person to think, hey, maybe you want to know what's happening right now, anytime, any day, 2 a.m, 7 a.m, it doesn't matter. He created headline news, which is basically your TikTok feed in a way. It's your news feed back in the day. So he was way ahead of his time when it came to that, back when basic cable was brand new. So for better or for worse, it was the beginning of us constantly watching news all the time, for better or for worse. Maybe better for us, since you cover news and so do I. But yeah, some people don't want to watch news 24/7, but it's there.
Yeah,
on your phone.
I remember growing up, headline news, HLN, what was it, Morning Express with Robin Mead, because you'd get pretty much all the headlines you need every 15, 20, 30 minutes. On
your phone, it kind of made HLN irrelevant in a way. The internet, and look, CNN.com is still very popular. They still bring in millions and millions of views a year, a month, a day, practically. So they're not irrelevant in any sense. CNN is an international brand. It's going to be bought up by Paramount. We'll see what happens under their new ownership. I mean, they've been under multiple owners, Time Warner, AT&T, Warner Discovery. Now it's going to be Paramount. So we'll see how that legacy, what happens now that he's effectively gone.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see. Rodney Ho from the AJC, I do appreciate your insight, and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're going to continue talking about Ted Turner's life and legacy over the coming hours. I know we're going to be talking with somebody for Fox 5 News Live at 2 o'clock. You're going to want to stick around for that. Kevin Stewart's going to be joining us. He's one of our reporters. He's working on a look back as well. He'll be joining us throughout the afternoon here on Fox 5 News Live on all of our digital channels. So we're going to obviously be talking more about him now that unfortunately we learned the sad news this morning that he passed away at the age of 87. And as we continue on this Wednesday afternoon, there are a lot of other stories that we are tracking from our Fox 5 newsroom, and some of them have to do with what you're clicking on fox5atlanta.com and our Fox Local app. Let's check in with Fox 5 digital content creator Sam Daniel. He is, I believe, standing by over at the digital desk with a look at some of the trending stories. Hey, Sam.
Hey, Tyler. Yeah, so obviously the death of Ted Turner is trending online, but looking at some other things that people are really clicking on, the first thing is a follow-up to a story we brought you on Monday, and it has to do with the death of Bootsy, a 400-pound pig who is owned by 12-year-old Garrett Cox in Jackson County. 3 people have now been arrested in connection to the shooting death of Bootsy. You see them there on your screens. Their names are May Vang Wow, Maisi Mawa, and Key Moves. They are charged with aggravated cruelty to animals, which is a felony, and currently they've not been released on bail, according to Jackson County jail records. So a little bit of the backstory here. Bootsy was found shot and killed last week after the family heard gunshots, and it was really devastating because they say Garrett Cox, this 12-year-old boy, had really bonded with Bootsy because they bought him about a year ago to help with Garrett's ADHD that his family describes as displayed as level 1 autism. So according to the family, Garrett really struggled at school, and then he found confidence through the Future Farmers of America, or FFA, and then that came down to training Bootsy, who you see the two of them there together on your screen. So, like I said last week, the family said Bootsy escaped her pen somehow, and so the dad, Matt Cox, went out to put Bootsy away for the night and realized that she was missing, started searching for him, and a short time later, he heard a nearby gunshot. That's when he ended up finding Bootsy dead, and since then, these 3 people have been charged. So it's just really devastating for this 12-year-old.
100%, but at least I guess, I mean, he lost the pig, but the fact that they're able to hold someone accountable for this, I guess is a silver lining here, because obviously they shouldn't have killed the pig.
Yes, exactly. But it's a positive update in the story of this awful death, because you can go see our Fox 5 Tara Jabor spoke with the family, and they really talked about how emotional Garrett is and how much Bootsy really meant to him, and it's such a sweet little bonding story. So you can go check that out on fox5atlanta.com right now.
I mean, you can see the pictures that we're playing right now. He was it looked like he was sleeping on the pig. Incredibly devastating, and the fact that this just goes to show you why people are clicking on it. They clicked on the original story we aired the other day, and now they're clicking on it again with this new update. So thankfully that there is this update, and I know we're getting emails. People are trying to see if they can help maybe get a new pig for him. So that's obviously a nice thing that our viewers are doing as well. So let's talk about a different story. This one's a little bit more I don't know what the phrasing here would be, but the sheriff one of our sheriffs here in our area arrested again. There's his mugshot.
Yes, Sheriff Couch from Hall County. You see him there on your screen. This is the second time in just a few months that he has been arrested. He was arrested Monday in Dawson County after a deputy there reported seeing him swerve in his car. His new charges based off that incident include failure to maintain lane, and then a charge that has to do with driving outside the conditions of a limited permit. Remember that, limited permit. I'm going to get back to that in just a second. He's on this limited permit because in February, he was arrested by one of his own deputies for driving under the influence, according to the Hall County Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office said his blood alcohol level was recorded at 0.212%, much higher than 0.08, which is the legal limit in Georgia and across the United States. He was charged with driving under the influence, and he has since been suspended by Governor Brian Kemp, but he is slated to return to the job in mid-May. So now, back to this new arrest. His attorney yesterday came out and said, listen, Sheriff Couch was not drunk. He has not drunk since his February arrest. And he said the limited permit charge comes from, quote, systemic failure at the Department of Driver Services, end quote. DDS has now responded to me. They reached out to me literally like 45 minutes ago. I saw the email, and they are saying that that is completely false. There was no systemic failure. They have come out and said that DDS mailed Sheriff Couch a card that said he was on a limited permit and listed exactly what he was allowed to drive for. Some of those conditions include going to work, to court, to take someone to school if you have a child that can't drive, if you have medical appointments, if you're getting treatment for alcohol. Other than that, you aren't just out leisurely driving or going out to run errands. They said Sheriff Couch should know that, so this is no systemic failure, and he is at fault for driving outside the guidance of that permit.
Well, also, maybe someone random who isn't a law enforcement officer, maybe they could make that argument that maybe they didn't understand. But if he's a law enforcement officer, you would think that they would have that understanding.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so, like I said, he's slated to go back on the job sometime this month. There are options. Governor Kemp can suspend him further, or he can choose to remove him from office. but the governor is the only person in the power with the power in the state of Georgia to remove an elected official from office.
So we could probably talk about the story all day just because it was interesting when we were getting all the emails the other day about the arrest. Let's talk about one more story that is trending right now. It has to do with horses.
Yeah, and this is a completely opposite story from the update on Bootsy, unfortunately. Cobb County Police are searching for a woman who's wanted on animal cruelty charges. They said they found her horses neglected and starving. So starving, in fact, that it appears they had eaten rocks to find some kind of nourishment, according to police. So Cobb County Animal Services has issued a warrant for Teresa Robinson. They issued this more than a week ago after her two horses, Sunny and Bullseye, were found neglected. So according to the Animal Services Department, they kind of knew there was something going on here, and they tried to work with Robinson to help her before the horses got to these conditions, but eventually they seized the horses. They said their ribs and hip bones were visible, and that Bullseye had lost all subcutaneous fat, so fat under the skin, just awful. And both their teeth were gnawed down from where they'd been trying to eat rocks, so really bad living conditions. Now, though, they said they can't find Robinson to arrest her, so they're asking for the public's help. If you know where Teresa Robinson is, you need to call Cobb County Animal Services because they want to serve her with this arrest warrant for animal cruelty.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Do we know if there's a picture of her on our website? Because obviously we have the picture of the horses, or horse.
I am literally going to go double check right now. I have not seen one.
Okay.
But
I mean,
hopefully, double check.
While you're looking that up, hopefully that they will release one, right?
There is it's a low quality picture on our website. So if you head there right now, you will be able to see that picture.
Okay.
Like I said, low quality though. They are looking for her. If you know where she is, call police. And Tyler, I will just say, it doesn't matter to me. Unfortunately, we report on horrible things all day long. Mm-hmm. Something about animals being neglected, animals getting killed, those are the stories that affect me the most.
No, 100%. I mean, the fact that, the headline we have on the bottom of the screen here, horses ate rocks to survive, that just proves that they were just so malnourished that they were just looking for any substance to be able to feed their bodies. Incredibly tragic.
You can see on your screen how just skinny they look. You can see their bones.
Well, hopefully that's the end of their suffering, and hopefully they're able to get the help that they need to be able to recover while police and investigators look for her so they can give her that warrant and hold her accountable for what she's allegedly accused of doing. Sam Daniel, thanks so much for joining us here for Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock and the stories that are trending here. We still have a lot more ahead on Fox 5 News Live at 1. We will be right back after this. Welcome back to Fox 5 News Live at 1 o'clock. 4 days now until Mother's Day. Are you ready? Well, it's crunch time for florists, and we sent our Eli Jordan to check in with a local florist shop about how they are preparing. Hey, Eli.
Hey Tyler, how's it going? Yeah, I am at Hummingbird Flowers in Hampton at 10 Northeast Main Street, right in the middle of downtown Hampton. And Hampton's a nice little quaint town. I dig it. It's got a train track that goes through here and a train that comes through. But yes, I'm at Hummingbird Flowers, and you better get on the ball if you haven't ordered Mama those flowers, because 100% of us are here because of a Mama, and you can't argue that fact. And I'm here with Pamela Duchesne, who owns Hummingbird Flowers. How you doing, Pamela?
I'm great. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Not too bad. So are you starting to feel the rush as a florist?
Oh, yes. The phone has been ringing off the hook, getting ready for the weekend. Everybody has a Mama, and everybody wants to celebrate Mama.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So tell me, I mean, are you changing hours? Are you bringing in more people? Tell me, what's it like for you?
So our big staff is going to come in, or help will start coming in tomorrow, because we're going to get our biggest delivery of flowers for processing tomorrow, and starting to build arrangements. We're probably going to have maybe about 8 of us here on staff.
So I see Cindy over here putting together something. Yeah. Hey Cindy, and so I love these moms right here. So you're going to bring in more people besides Cindy, right?
Right.
About how many? You say about 8 people?
About 8 people, yeah.
And so I mean, that's not only as you know, that kind of helps out the economy a little bit, bringing in some extra seasonal help.
That's right. Some seasonal help. That helps the economy. Helps put some cash in some people's pockets.
Oh yeah. And so tell me though, if somebody hasn't ordered yet, what would you advise them to do to get the flowers for their mom?
I would advise them to give us a call ASAP at 678-782-6760, or email us at hummingbirdflowers@yahoo.com, or go on our website at www.hummingbird.flowersga.com.
And so if should they order now, or
yes,
you guys are going to have extended hours, right?
We are going to have extended hours. Normally Saturday we close at 2, we open at 10, but we'll be here from 10 to 5 on Saturday. Normally we're closed on Sunday, and we'll be here at 10 to 3 on Sunday.
So if I order on Sunday, will I be able to get what I want?
Hopefully. I wouldn't wait till then. We don't want to have Mama being left in the, you know what I mean? Leftovers.
Yeah. So if I want to get, you know, like if I wanted to get like one of these groovy moms or this arrangement, I should order today or tomorrow.
You should order today or tomorrow, Friday for the latest.
At the latest. Awesome. Well, so you guys are going to have extended days. So if, you know, if you're a mom, you know us kids, we slack sometimes. If we wait too long, you guys are going to be open on Sunday.
We're going to be open on Sunday.
And with some deliveries.
I'm a mom. I'm telling you, get here ASAP. Moms want to be pampered and treated. Moms don't want to be forgotten. So get out and get your Mama some flowers.
Tyler, make it a priority. I'm out here at Hummingbird Flowers in Hampton. Get your flowers. Don't wait till the last minute because you can't get what you want. I'll kick it back to you.
Eli, quick question real quick. Any concern about them running out of flowers, considering a lot of them are brought in from overseas?
That is the concern. Oh yeah, real quick. Are you worried about running out of flowers with some of them coming overseas, you know?
Yeah, running out of flowers, because if you don't pre-order, I don't know what to order for you or how much. So all I'm ordering is what I based on last year, so I'm expecting bigger rush this year.
No supply chain issues or anything?
No supply issues other than customers placing their order, waiting till the last minute. Yeah.
So yeah, it's all up to the customers to make sure that you're able to get what you want. But other than that, there's been no problems for them to get the flowers and floral arrangements that they need.
Yeah, people better go do it early and get it now so they can make sure they can guarantee that perfect Flowers Day arrangement for their mom. Eli, thanks so much for showing us and giving us an inside look at that florist shop. And we're going to have much more here on Fox 5 News Live at 2, but that's going to do it for us here for the news at 1. I'm Tyler Fingert. Ariel Onstott will be joining you next.
Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here at 2 o'clock. We've got meteorologist Alex Forbes standing here, and if that's happening at the top of 2 o'clock, it usually means we've got some weather on the way. Right. So, Alex, I understand we need to keep our eyes open for this evening.
Yes, a start of a probably very long day for me. But look, I really want to emphasize something here because I've been scrolling on TikTok and Instagram and all the stuff. And, there is the threat of severe weather today and tonight here in Metro Atlanta, but it's not a crazy high threat as it sounds like in some of this information that's floating around out there. Okay. So let me show you what's going on. Let's start off next door in Alabama. We already have some storms at this hour. This is going to be parts of northeastern Alabama. Notice your lightning counter up there at the top of the screen, already up to 125. This is the beginning of what we're going to see into the evening tonight. So no severe weather up there at this hour, and notice you're getting some rain filling back in on the backside. That's going to be another component to this system here through the day ahead. All right, current numbers here in Atlanta: 78, 81 in Covington, so the temperatures are plenty warm for strong storms. 76 in Gainesville, 84 in Eatonton, 75 in Rome, and 75 over in Carrollton. So let's get over to the severe weather outlook. Obviously, the level 3 sticks out like a sore thumb here. The focal point for the severe weather today is going to be back into Alabama and Mississippi. We are in a level 2 here across portions of northern Georgia, but even then we could see some damaging winds upwards of 60 to 70 miles an hour, and yes, the threat for tornadoes. Okay, embedded within this severe weather outlook, you do get the individual threats. So let's look at the tornado risk here, and what you're going to see is Atlanta and most of North Georgia is only just a notch up on that scale. So no, the threat's not zero. The threat's obviously not sky high either. And that's important to note here. Now, with a low threat, that's just the risk of something happening. What is the intensity, though? That's where things get a little, interesting. And that's what I think has prompted a lot of this chatter today. So there is the potential in this yellow shaded area, which includes a large part of our area, of potentially a stronger tornado, EF2+. So I think the best way to phrase it is a low risk of a strong tornado in North Georgia this evening, and that's what we're going to be tracking into the night. All right, so let's time it out. Here's 4 p.m. Looking at some scattered storms across the North Metro, and then into the 8-9 o'clock hour shortly after sunset. That's when the heaviest of the weather will be pushing into the Metro. So this is when your tornado risk is probably going to be at its peak. But even then, as this line comes through, we're going to have a damaging wind risk. And if you ask me, it doesn't matter how a tree falls, whether it was a tornado or a straight line wind gust, it's just the fact that the tree fell. Right. So that's going to be a threat, tornadoes aside, into the evening tonight. And then that pushes down to the south. I really think by midnight, 1 a.m., our severe weather threat is over in terms of the Fox 5 television viewing area, but that does shift down into the Macon area before all is said and done. The storms you see back over Alabama and Mississippi, I do not anticipate being severe through the day tomorrow here in Metro Atlanta, just because all the energy is gone. Okay, I'm going to loop this and point a couple things out here. This is what we call our rotation potential. This is what the map is showing through the Metro Atlanta area this evening. Now, I don't want you to lock in on specific locations here, but what I instead want you to see is that east to west pattern, or west to east pattern that's moving across the metro. This does not guarantee tornadoes, but it kind of shows you what we're working with this evening. There will be rotating storms into the evening hours. Okay, flood watch also in place. Don't want to lose sight of this. If you don't see damaging winds, you're still going to see heavy rain. So that's flooding risk I would put probably in the high category. Medium damaging wind risk and low large hail and low tornado risk into the days to come. We will remain somewhat active, a 20 and 30% chance of rain Friday and Saturday. Looks like another round of storms in here on Sunday for Mother's Day.
No.
Later in the day, though. So if you have outdoor morning plans,
we're okay for the morning.
I wouldn't go canceling those, but I would still have plan B in the back of your mind.
Good to know. Alex, thanks so much for keeping us updated on where we stand here with this. Curious, as we're looking, the threats, if you're ranking them, likely the flash flooding and maybe hail or wind, and then tornadoes less so, as if you're ranking the priorities of threats.
I would say this about, it's interesting you put flash flooding at the top. I would agree that more people are going to see the risk of flash flooding, but when you look at a risk that a flash flood poses, I wouldn't put that on equal playing field as damaging winds and tornadoes. I'd almost separate them out. So yeah, great point. Everybody has the risk for flash flooding.
Sure.
But I would watch more the damaging wind risk today than the tornado risk from a severe potential.
Alex, thanks so much. We'll stay updated to you as this progresses forward into the evening. As we continue here, guys, let's keep you updated on a story we're following in our newsroom. Atlanta media mogul Ted Turner has died, and this is historic on a lot of levels when we take a look at his impact to our Atlanta community and nationally. I want to talk a little bit about the man known for starting at CNN, as well as other television networks bearing his name. Ted Turner was a television pioneer and landowner who raced yachts and said he was, quote, trying to save the world. He died at the age of 87 years old, and it seems he was born to be an entrepreneur. At the age of 9, he earned money cutting grass around billboards that his family advertising business owned. And at just 24, he was handed the reins of a business when his alcoholic father took his own life. While he says his father had been at times abusive, he was a high influence in Ted Turner's life. And whatever it seemed that Ted Turner tried, a lot of things became successful. For example, CNN. He bought a second-rate television station here in Atlanta and put it up on a satellite. And the first so-called superstation was born, an enterprise that would eventually be called Turner Broadcasting. He bought the Atlanta Braves, turning them into a national sensation, and a year later won the America's Cup yachting race. But what really put him on the map, of course, is CNN, when he launched the 24-hour cable news on June 1st, 1980. CNN really changed the face of television and how a lot of Americans got the news. So coming up here in the 2 o'clock hour, we're going to check in with our Kevin Stewart, who's getting reactions from other leaders here around Atlanta about Ted Turner's life and legacy. We're also going to speak to Justin Farmer, whose father was one of the original anchors when CNN launched. So more to come here at 2 o'clock on this. But I want to take a moment here and pause because some of you guys have some questions here in the chat. Someone is asking what is the latest on Benjamin Brathwaite, and he is that 16-year-old boy who is missing here in Atlanta. And I can tell you right now there is no update in terms of whether or not police have found him, but the family is now offering a $10,000 reward for information that could lead to finding out where Benjamin is and his location. So they are worried sick, but as of right now, there's no update on Benjamin's whereabouts, and he has not been found, and he has been missing for over a week now. So that is the update there. As we continue here, I want to keep you updated on the arrest of 3 people as it relates to that therapy pig named Bootsy. You're taking a look at 3 people here on your screen who've been arrested in connection with the death of that pig. Ultimately, police in Jackson County here in Georgia say that Bootsy, a 400-pound pig owned by a 12-year-old student, was shot and killed after escaping her pen. The pig's family said Bootsy helped their son build confidence while coping with ADHD that displays as autism. He really, really loved that pig. You can see him cuddling with it in its pen and just taking care of Bootsy and making sure that she got all that she needed. 12-year-old Garrett Cox is that boy who had a special relationship with the pig. And Bootsy was also shown by Garrett. He spent a lot of time taking care of her. At this time, we're not sure when that trio is going to appear in court. We'll keep you updated when they do so. The suspects are 54-year-old Mai Vang Mua, 59-year-old Maisi Mua, and 33-year-old Ki Moos. They were all arrested yesterday, according to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, and were charged with aggravated cruelty to animals. Not sure what the motive is here or why they allegedly shot Bootsy, but we'll keep you updated as we learn those details. But speaking of animal cruelty, let's talk about this story in Cobb County. Police say horses were forced to eat rocks to try to survive. You're taking a look at some of these animals. Cobb County investigators are searching for a woman named Teresa Robinson on animal cruelty charges after 2 horses were found in a life-threatening state. Animal services officials say they spent months trying to help the owner provide proper care, but she would not work with them. The horses, Sunny and Bullseye, were dehydrated and starving when they moved to Breezy Meadows Horse Rescue to recover, but it seems that horse rescue was really anything but. So Really hard situation. Their hooves were overgrown and splintered. Investigators also found their front teeth ground down because the horses were eating rocks to find some kind of nourishment. So we'll keep you updated as this moves forward. But if you know where Teresa Robinson might be, you are asked to call 911. The horses are under the care of Breezy Meadows as they are nursed back to health. So we will keep you updated. Let's talk about something that's happening this weekend that is going to have a big impact on everyone's commute. Well, maybe not everyone, but especially if you live on the west side, this could affect you. And it is a busy Mother's Day weekend, but road work is shutting down the west side of I-285 here in Atlanta. So let's get out live to Fox's Annie Mapp. Annie, would love to learn a little bit more about this project, how long we're going to face this headache, and what they're trying to accomplish.
Hey Ariel, yeah, a lot of people are concerned about how this road work will impact their commute this weekend. This is happening on I-285, all lanes in all directions between that Cascade Drive exit and also the Martin Luther King Drive, Cascade Road, I should say. Now, the Georgia Department of Transportation says they have to do this because there is road work that is just absolutely crucial. The agency says they need to replace things such as deteriorating concrete slabs, repair shoulders, and install new median barriers. They say the only way to do it is by fully closing the roads so that they can safely mill, grind, and replace that old concrete. So as a result, there will be detours this weekend for drivers who are traveling southbound on I-285. They will get diverted to I-20. Those driving north and westbound on 285 will be diverted to the Langford Parkway at exit 5 and then towards the downtown connector. So again, people are asked to consider taking alternate routes if they can. We spoke to drivers who travel through the area daily, and many are worried again on how this will affect their weekend plans. Take a listen.
That's going to cause a major issue, and the reason being is because that's the quickest way for me to get to work, and by them consistently doing the road repairs, and it's already a lot of hectic issues going on.
You just got to roll with the punches. I mean, it happens all the time.
And GDOT says this is one of the largest 285 closures that they have done in several years. Again, they are advising people, if you don't have to travel in this area, just don't do it, because they are expecting these roads and those different alternate routes to get backed up. Ariel?
Annie, I'm taking a look here through our comments, and someone is asking, and I'm going to test how familiar you are with Atlanta roads, but they're asking if you're driving from Carrollton to Chamblee Sunday. They say, am I screwed? Brie Marie's asking this. And Annie, I'm going to guess here that a lot of the closures of this west side of I-285, even if that's not a part of your regular commute, it's probably going to push traffic back onto other roads. So I would guess traffic's going to be off this weekend.
Right. Again, this is happening starting Friday night at 7 and going all the way to Monday morning at 5 a.m. So although you may not travel through this side of I-285, you have to think about how drivers are going to be pushed to these different alternate routes, such as the Langford Parkway and onto the downtown connector. So you may start to see traffic pick up a lot, and that's because people are having to get off 285 to be able to get to their destination.
Annie, thanks so much for keeping us updated. Definitely going to be something we monitor over this weekend. So, Annie, thank you. As we talk about driving and all of the headaches it can entail, we'll continue to keep you updated on the effects of that I-285 west side closure for this weekend. And you guys, you can find more information on that closure on fox5atlanta.com. So if you're just now tuning in and want to know more about that, we have that information there. But as a driver, you might be paying more for gas yet again here in the state of Georgia. Gas prices have spiked once more because of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Cost now tops $4 here in the Metro Atlanta area. And some of you might already be used to this, especially if you are in the inner cities of Atlanta and inner parts of our city. You know that gas has been pretty high. But Georgia's average gas price for regular unleaded climbed above $4 a gallon, according to AAA. We've seen prices surge really in the recent days as fighting in the Middle East continues. And a lot of drivers have said this is really straining their budgets. I can imagine that would be the case if you're not used to paying so much for something that now costs a lot. Some people reporting that it's taking them $80 to fill up a gas tank that once cost $50. So this is something we're continuing to monitor, but we're also seeing another effect as it relates to travel with the shutdown of Spirit Airlines. This collapse of the airline is causing a ripple effect across the industry for other major carriers. Many big carriers are now announcing flights as they're trying to fill the gaps that Spirit left with its absence. But the ultra-low carrier was often seen as a price floor, and that forced a lot of these larger airlines to keep their prices low. Industry experts are now warning that even higher fares could be on the horizon with less competition. We've seen airfare climb this year as airlines have passed on higher fuel costs because of the Iran war. The numbers, though, do show demand in Europe and the United States still climbing. According to the travel network Virtuoso, bookings are up 13% in Europe, 34% here in the United States, and airlines are already trying to fill the gaps left by Spirit. JetBlue has added 11 routes from Fort Lauderdale. So where they are able, airlines do seem to try to step in to offer routes for customers who have been affected. I also want to let you know, speaking of the war with Iran, as we've talked about the impacts of high fuel costs, President Trump says great progress has been made in talks with Iran, and he says this could bring the war to an end. He further says this is why he decided to put a hold on the United States operation to rescue stranded ships near the Strait of Hormuz. Hundreds of merchant ships are bottled up in the Persian Gulf after President Trump paused Project Freedom. That was going to give diplomatic efforts, or that was going to give a way for ships to start going through the strait because they were going to be escorted by the U.S. military. Ultimately, only 2 commercial ships made it through with the U.S. military's help, and that was on Monday. But the president says he's pausing that because he wants to give diplomacy another chance. The president could be closing on a deal. He says, assuming Iran agrees to what has been agreed to, epic fury will be at an end and the blockade will be ended, allowing the strait to be open to all, including Iran. Now, he goes on to say, if not, U.S. strikes will begin at a much higher level on Iran. According to Axios, the working agreement between Iran and the United States right now is a page long, and it involves Iran suspending its nuclear enrichment and committing to never seeking a nuclear weapon. The U.S. would lift sanctions and release billions of dollars in frozen Iranian funds, and both sides would allow full transit through the Strait of Hormuz. There's a lot of skepticism that this deal will be a reality, considering Iran is dealing with a deeply divided government, and ultimately President Trump says it is too soon to plan face-to-face talks between the two countries. But let's talk about the effects of the Department of Homeland Security shutdown, because at this point, the Department of Homeland Security is playing catch-up with its closure of nearly 2 months, especially ahead of the World Cup. Soccer fans from around the globe are traveling here to the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. But before the games start, Homeland Security is trying to make sure stadiums are secure. In some cities, local officials have already started to make security plans. We saw an active training here in Atlanta where police looked at what an active shooter scenario would look like inside of a stadium. Take a listen to what Secretary of Homeland Security Markwayne Mullin says about how the shutdown has affected the Department of Homeland Security's agencies.
Joining us now, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin. Secretary, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me on, Shannon.
Okay, so funding is back for most of DHS, but not all of it. That is going to be another sweep through Washington that we'll track. But in the meantime, what does it mean, this historic lapse of funding for DHS as far as rebuilding? Are we able to track all the threats that are out there right now?
Well, after 76 days of shutdown, which is an historic shutdown, longest government shutdown in history, it's going to take some time to recover. I mean, were we able to still be mission capable? Yes. Were we able to pick up everything that was being brought to us? No. I mean, just for an example, we had 500 electric bills throughout just the Coast Guard that was in default, and in some cases, we were having to have the State Department and DOW pay the bills. Our gas cards throughout the department, through all brought out 22 components was getting turned off, and we was having to have different agencies pay those bills for us. And so we were also having a tremendous amount of morale issues. So we had a large turnover. Just in CISA, we're down 1,100 people. TSA was down 8%, which typically we have about a 4.6% turnover there. We have agencies that were almost completely furloughed, and so now we're getting back up to speed. I'll use one more example too. In the Coast Guard, they have one agency that does nothing but license barges and vessels for United States waters. They're 18,000 vessels behind, and even if we did nothing but just work on the vessels behind, it would take us till the end of July to get them licensed and back on the water. That's going to have a huge impact on what happens throughout transportation, what happens with recreational vehicles, and this is all because the Democrats wanted to have open borders and allow criminals to flow freely on the streets, and it makes absolutely no sense, Shannon. But morale is high, and we're laser focused on delivering for the American people.
Okay, so you're listening as Secretary of Homeland Security Mark Wayne Mullen was being interviewed last Sunday, and he spoke a little bit about the effects that this shutdown has had on the department. Now, keep in mind, as it relates to FIFA, the first U.S. game, or rather the first game of the World Cup, kicks off a month from now in Mexico City. Then the U.S. is playing its first game the next day in Los Angeles against Paraguay. So we'll continue to keep you updated. Department of Homeland Security has its hands full as they try to keep people safe. But let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill, because at this point, the Senate Republicans are pushing for $1 billion to go towards President Trump's ballroom. It's more than double what the president initially projected the project would cost. Senate Republicans have quietly added this $1 billion in security funding to a broader reconciliation package that would be focused on funding ICE and Customs and Border Patrol. You might remember the recent funding package that passed to pay for the Department of Homeland Security and reopen it did not include funding for ICE or Customs and Border Patrol. So this money would be earmarked for the Secret Service for so-called purposes of security adjustments and upgrades related to the East Wing modernization project. Republican lawmakers have been pushing for additional funding after a gunman charged the ballroom at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And the president has long said that the ballroom, previously estimated at $400 million, would be paid for by private donations, not taxpayer money. That does not now seem to be the case, but this $1 billion plan is not final. The House has yet to release its version of the bill, and the Senate is expected to begin voting on its version at some point next week. So we will continue to keep you updated on this as it progresses forward. But I'm taking a look at our time, guys, and I want to let you know, coming up next, we're going to check in with our Kevin Stewart about the life and legacy of Atlanta media mogul Ted Turner. We're going to talk to Kevin as he's been speaking with leaders today on Mr. Turner's legacy. That's straight ahead. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here at 2 o'clock. It is great to see you. I see people here in our chat on TikTok reflecting on the life and legacy of Ted Turner here in Atlanta, saying that he was a very generous man, and this is really sad news to hear of his passing. Our Kevin Stewart is following up on what you're learning from leaders here and how they're reacting, Kevin. It's great to see you. What are they sharing with you this afternoon?
That this is a legend. There's no other way to describe his legacy. Known for his great philanthropy, as folks were saying in the chat there, donating to so many issues and causes around the globe, around our city, particularly along the lines of the environment and peace, getting organizations gathered. I think it was like $1 billion when he created and seeded the United Nations Foundation. We had a chance to talk to former mayor of Atlanta, Andrew Young, an ambassador who worked with him in that capacity. But the thing that's really interesting is talking about, in our line of work, CNN. CNN, you know, people think of Atlanta, modern day Metro Atlanta, the growth after the 1996 Olympics, but a lot of people say a lot of the credit of making Atlanta the city that we know today goes back to when CNN was created in 1980. Ted Turner could have created CNN anywhere. Most national news organizations are started in New York and Washington, but he did it right here in Atlanta, and that name going across the globe, Mexico City, London, all over the world, Cuba, and people began to learn more about Atlanta, being the cradle of the civil rights movement, being more of a modern city, and the people who lived here and created that city that we know today. I had a chance to talk to the former CEO of CNN during the 1990s and the former mayor, Andrew Young. Take a listen.
Would have asked where is Coca-Cola headquartered, and they would say Atlanta. You'd also ask where is Delta headquartered, and they would say Atlanta. But CNN, in every one of our newscasts, I mean, we almost always talked about where our CNN World headquarters or CNN headquartered in Atlanta, and certainly it brought visibility, and I think very positive visibility.
Ted Turner's legacy in Atlanta is a man of courage, vision, peace, and a willingness to take responsibility for the earth as it is and try to keep it and make it more and more perfect. It's hard to give people credit for Atlanta, but there's no question that he's in the class with Martin Luther King and with Jimmy Carter and with Roberto Goizueta, Maynard Jackson, well, Coca-Cola. You know, I mean, this is a special place.
Yeah, and he says that special place, he belongs on that Mount Rushmore of Atlanta. And one of the things we talked about CNN, but that whole broadcast empire, Turner Broadcasting, which also included the old Channel 17, WTBS, the Superstation, and he put the Braves, who he owned, on that channel and broadcasted the Braves games to across the country. And he is the one who dubbed the Braves as America's team, which is a fascinating tidbit there. You know, he also owned the Atlanta Hawks for a good bit of time during the old heydays of the human highlight, Dominique Wilkins back in the 80s. He also owned the Atlanta Chiefs of the old North American Soccer League. So he gets credit for the burgeoning soccer culture here in Atlanta, the precursor to Atlanta United. Ariel?
It's incredible, Kevin, to see what one can achieve in a lifetime, and so incredible too that this legacy, this presence, is what's helped make Atlanta synonymous with, you know, industry, with business, and with media. You know, to your point, a lot of media powerhouses would go to Washington, D.C., New York City, and Ted Turner said Atlanta's going to be home for CNN.
Right. And of course, they're still here in a smaller capacity, but he sold CNN. He sold CNN and his broadcasting empire to Time Warner. I believe that was back in the mid-90s, 96, 97, around the Olympic time, actually. But that legacy is still here. The whole world knows about Atlanta, and certainly after the Olympics, we became the international city that we are today. But as people we talk to today say, that actually starts dating back to the 1980 when CNN set up shop right here.
Kevin, always appreciate our conversations. Thanks so much for joining us live. I know you'll join us again later this evening with more on Ted Turner's life and legacy. Denise Jones put it so well here in our TikTok chat, a very giving man and a wonderful life he lived. So, Kevin, thank you so much. Let's move on here. I want to see if we can bring in our Justin Farmer here. He is CEO of Exit Wealth, but also very familiar with the media landscape here in Atlanta. So, Justin, it's great to see you. Want to make sure I can hear you real quick, so we'll try this out. Perfect. I can hear you loud and clear.
Great.
We love that. So, Justin, tell us a little bit about, I understand your father was one of the original CNN anchors, and you had some experiences with Ted Turner.
Hi, Ariel. I did. I'm a big Ted Turner fan. My dad and stepmother, Don Farmer and Chris Curl, were among the original anchors hired in late 1979 to start CNN in 1980. And I got to tell you, people thought Ted Turner was crazy. 24-hour news. The big three networks made fun of him. They called it chicken noodle news, and they thought, what a joke. No one's interested in news 24/7. Boy, was he right, and they were wrong. So, I mean, to say he was a trailblazer is just an understatement. And I got to meet Ted Turner as a teenager when I was running around as an intern at CNN back in the day. And then I ended up working at CNN for a while in the 90s. I think he was just a board member then, but I got to meet him on a couple of occasions. He was always very fond of my parents. And, you know, I heard Andy Young on there saying a little bit ago that Atlanta wouldn't be Atlanta with Ted Turner. And I completely agree with Andy Young. I mean, he belongs up there with Dr. King and Ivan Allen and William Hartsfield and Maynard Jackson and Billy Payne. Ted Turner is in that list because he introduced the world to Atlanta, and then Atlanta became a lot more than just a city. It became an American, huge, important city, and then an international city that we all love today.
And it's so incredible to hear your experiences and to think about the impact one person can have on just a city, right? I think sometimes we tend to look at our impact as, oh, I want to change the world. And so often, you know, there's that saying that if you want to change the world, it starts right here at home. And it seems that Ted did that. And now Atlanta, I mean, to your point, like, who would... The Braves, I mean, you would not think of the Braves being the team that they are today if it weren't for Ted Turner.
It is so fun. You go to a Braves game to this day, and there are people from Montana, North Carolina, West Texas, Connecticut. All these people love the Atlanta Braves because they grew up watching the Braves won every night on TBS. It was like Andy Griffith or something, and then Sanford and Son, and then here come the Atlanta Braves. It was just fantastic. And something else about Ted Turner, Ariel, he did a lot more than just elevate Atlanta. He fundamentally not just changed broadcasting, but I would argue he changed the way that human beings have an expectation toward information. Yeah. Think about this. In the 80s, this was pre-cell phones. This was pre-internet. And yet 24-hour news sort of conditioned all of us to be able to get news on demand. Whenever it was convenient for you, you could turn on CNN. They were the first of the cable news networks. You could turn on CNN and get information. It changed political races. It changed the lead up to conflict and war. That is how big of a deal CNN was, and how Ted Turner was behind the vision when he was alone for a while in that geniusness.
It's incredible, Justin, to think about how consumers' habits and expectations will shift based on what you give them. And I feel like we're in that media ever-changing, ever-evolving landscape. Now we have artificial intelligence, so many new tools, but that foundation, that legacy that was set by Ted so many years ago will carry forward. I'm taking a look at our time, and I know we're running out, but Justin, I could continue to talk about this with you forever. I greatly appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you for making yourself available to us, and
thanks, Ariel.
Nice to learn about about your family and the history there with CNN. So
You got
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to move on here because coming up next, I want to let you know that we are going to check in with an investigation that Johnny Edwards is doing. Might sound like a familiar name, but he's going to join us to talk about how this case that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is pursuing against President Trump is costing taxpayers. We're going to talk about that straight ahead. Not sure if you guys can still see me. It seems we've had some lights go out. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Never a dull day in news. We took a bit of a power hit there and the lights went out, but it seems we are back in business for the time being. So let's continue on. Up next, we want to go to our Johnny Edwards, who is working on an investigation with Fulton County taxpayers as it relates to Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. Let's bring Johnny in. And Johnny, I have to say, it is great to see you again. Tell me a little bit about this story that you're working on here.
It's great to see you too, Ariel. Well, we've been trying for the past 5 months to find out how much the prosecution of Donald Trump and 18 other people by Fulton County, known as the RICO case or the election interference case, how much that set back Fulton County taxpayers. There's a lot of reasons to be asking this question. We don't ask this question about every criminal case or even cases that don't lead anywhere. But we know that taxpayers could be on the hook for as much as $16.85 million, and that would be the legal fees of the defendants. And we know that the outside counsel that was hired, the special prosecutors, cost taxpayers somewhere in the neighborhood of $900,000 to $1 million. It's sort of a little bit nebulous, but there's other costs. There's internal costs, the cost of staff time, the cost of meals, travel, the special grand jury, all kinds of ancillary costs. And I'm not the only one who's been asking this question, and for whatever reason, District Attorney Fani Willis does not want to answer this question or does not seem to want to go to any lengths to find out the answer to this question.
It's interesting, Johnny. I'm curious, what are the next steps for you as the investigator here? A bunch of questions come to my mind, right? Because you're trying to make sure and trying to understand, do the ends justify the means here? What do taxpayers think or feel about this investigation? What are some of your next steps?
Well, I've got an open records request pending, trying to find out, whether the district attorney's office has ever actually tried to tally this up. If they have, if they could please give us that record. I was also trying to ask them to pin down through the Open Records Act exactly how much of these fees I'm seeing that went to the outside attorneys, how much of that was related to the Trump case. Probably for two of the outside attorneys, Nathan Wade and Anna Cross, is probably at least most of it, if not all of it. For one of them, John Floyd, it may not be all of it. So even that is difficult to pin down. Basically, in my story, I quoted former Gwinnett County District Attorney Danny Porter, and he pretty much said without the DA's office's cooperation, it's going to be very difficult to get to the bottom of this to figure out exactly what the cost was. Now, Fulton County Commissioner Bob Ellis, his chief of staff described to me how they've been trying to sort this out, through the records he's entitled to as a county commissioner, and they can't figure it out. They couldn't even come to any kind of a reliable estimate. So it's a difficult thing to do without the cooperation of the elected district attorney.
Yeah, it seems it would be difficult to try to get those questions answered, and that cooperation would go a long way. Johnny, I'm looking at our time here, and I know that we need to move on, but I always appreciate our conversations, and I'm so excited we get to do this again. So glad to have you here in an investigative capacity, and I know you'll continue to ask the hard questions as it relates to this.
I sure will. Great to be back.
Thanks, Johnny. All right, guys, as we continue along here at 2 o'clock. Had to think about my timing here. I know some of you here in our chat are asking about the latest with the Epstein files, and I do have an update for you. But first, I want to make sure we stay on track here and speak to our Maria Guzman, who is out in Marietta, where some free prostate screenings are underway. And this is really important for a lot of reasons, but especially for men who can't afford to get a prostate screening. They can get checked through a free mobile clinic. So let's bring in Maria. It's great to see you. Tell us a little bit about this partnership, Maria, and what's happening.
Yes, hi Ariel. You're having a great day so far. So here, the Schweitzer Library, this parking lot has honestly been turned into a mobile clinic, and that's because Emory Winship and Cobb County Library are working together to bring this resource right here and bring it to life. Now, their main goal is to, one, increase accessibility, right? But also break down any health barriers that can prevent someone from going and getting that screening. And two, this is the first time they bring a clinic like this into the setting of a library. Now, I did speak to some of the people who lead this mobile clinic, and they tell me that they see a lot of challenges and many reasons why men might not come. And one, it can be either busy work schedules or transportation, or even just having a wall when seeing a physician or going to the doctor. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
The biggest need is definitely the awareness. Like, a lot of men, unfortunately, that are 45, 55, 60 are just like, I've never had this screening done in my life. So it's like, what is it? What are we looking for? What are my levels and things like that? So we see there's a lack of knowledge there. There's a lack of just information in general, not just knowledge, but just information. We hear about, breast cancer and things like that, but prostate cancer is something that maybe flies under the radar a little bit more. So we're just trying to make everyone aware as we go forward.
Gotcha. And when it comes to barriers, health barriers, what are some reasons that can prevent someone from going to the doctor, from doing a screening in our community?
So for one, transportation is big. I think that's why we put it on wheels, is because we can bring it to you. For those who are underinsured or uninsured, those are probably the next two biggest barriers, because everybody's like, I can't go to the doctor if I don't have insurance. Well, here you don't have to worry about that. One, we're coming to you, so you don't have to worry about driving to a doctor's office if it's kind of far. And then the second and third biggest thing is like, it doesn't matter if you don't have insurance. And three, it's free. So can I pay for it? Can I get to it? Do I have enough insurance to cover it? We kind of kill all of those with the mobile unit.
Wow. And for someone who maybe doesn't have insurance, they go get a screening for prostate cancer. How much, can that cost someone?
The initial screening can be a couple $100, so maybe anywhere from 100 to 200, maybe a little more, just depending. So the goal is to take that worry away and to also fulfill the needs of them having quality care.
Generally, there's a large misconception about the process itself, the screening itself. They don't know that it's as simple as a blood draw. That's the first thing. It takes about 10 minutes from start to finish, and we're able to measure the PSA levels in their blood, so they don't know about that. So we educate them on that. And then two, there's kind of a disparity gap between their access to screenings, so that's what we're trying to decrease by coming out to the communities and offering the screenings. So if you don't have insurance, that's perfectly fine. It's a no-cost screening, and we just want to spread awareness to get them screened.
Yeah, and for men, right, who is kind of like most at risk, unfortunately, from getting a prostate cancer?
That's a good question. So as black men, given our biological makeup, we're 70% more inclined to contract prostate cancer. So I would say the black community is a little more at risk.
Yes, and for just some background on how big this resource is, the HelpWise, prostate cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in men across Georgia. So this resource is definitely available for anyone. It's free, it's on the go, and it's here to serve the public. So all the way from Cobb County, I'll send things back to you, Ariel.
Maria, thank you so much for the update. I appreciate it. You guys, some of you are asking about the latest on the Epstein files, so I want to make sure I get that in. We're going to have more on this later as we continue to get sound from our network, but I want to let you know that Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick appeared Wednesday before a House committee that's been investigating Jeffrey Epstein. Lawmakers were seeking answers on Lutnick's contact with Epstein in the years after Epstein's conviction. Lutnick is a member of President Donald Trump's cabinet. He is a Commerce Secretary, and he has previously given contradictory statements about his relationship with Epstein, but he has said that he has done nothing wrong. He had a closed-door interview with lawmakers today. We'll continue to keep you updated on that. I just saw Kentucky Representative James Comer come up and take some reporters' questions, so if I get a chance to go through that, I will let you know what he said. As we continue along here at 2 o'clock, we're going to bring you a little closer to home where florists are busy preparing for the Mother's Day holiday. That is coming up next. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here. Mother's Day is just days away, and a local florist is trying to keep up with the last-minute rush, as you might imagine. So let this be your warning, right? If you're a last-minute Mother's Day buyer and this is something you do like to do for your mom, now is the time to get it done. So let's get out live to our Eli Jordan at Hummingbird Flowers. Eli, great to see you. What's happening?
Hey, it's a big rush here at Hummingbird Flowers in Hampton, 10 Northeast Main Street here in the center of downtown Hampton, and I'm outside of Hummingbird, and they got a nice little fun sign there. Don't forget your mama, and you better not forget your mama, because none of us would be here if it wasn't for a mama. And you know, they are getting busy. They're just changing their hours just because of Mother's Day, and we need to you know, make sure we appreciate our moms. And I'm going to take us inside the Hummingbird Flowers and check out what's going on back there. And there's Brian, Mr. Hummingbird, right there. Hey, Brian, how you doing? So yeah, this is just the lull before the storm. Hey, how you doing, Miss Pamela Deschent? You're the owner of Hummingbird Flowers, right?
I am.
So tell me, how excited are you for this big weekend? I know you've done this before, but it's your huge weekend, isn't it?
It is, and I'm really excited for it. We've been working all month getting ready for this. We have our orders of flowers coming in tomorrow. I got Cindy here helping me today. Cindy. But I'm expecting probably about another 8 people to come and help me, because we're going to be busy.
So tell me, if I want to get my mom a certain, arrangement, bouquet or whatever, how soon do I need to order? Is it too late to order?
Yesterday. You should have ordered it yesterday. You got to get the orders in. Get them in as soon as possible. You can reach us at 678-782-6067 or reach us online at hummingbirdflowersga.com, or you can send us an email at hummingbirdflowers@yahoo.com.
So if I'm a little bit late, I'm slacking, or if I got busy with work or something and Sunday rolls up, will I still be able to order flowers?
You still will be able to order flowers. Although we're closed normally on Sunday, we're going to have extended hours. We're going to be open from 9 till 3 on Sunday, so you'll still be able to come in and get mom something. Don't forget your mama.
It'll be something, though. Might not be able to get what I want.
It may not be able to get exactly what you might have been looking for, but there'll be something here for you.
I believe I was here last year, and I mean, this place was a busy humming.
It was
You had
busy.
A bunch of people back here.
We did. You came on the Saturday before Mother's Day, and it was packed. It was rolling. Get your orders in. You want to get it in before that rush hits.
So when ultimately, for me to get the last bouquet that my choosing, ultimately when would be the last day to do that?
I would say by Friday, 5 p.m., get your orders in.
5 p.m. Friday, but you have extended hours. You're going to be at 10 to 5 on Saturday, which is extra.
10 to 5, which is extra time on Saturday.
And then you're going to have, then you said 9 to 3 on Sunday.
9 to 3 on Sunday. You could also come down and see us at 10 Northeast Main Street. Walk in, pick out what you're looking for, get your flowers custom made.
And one thing, though, also, you're a small business owner.
I am a small business owner. I'm a mom.
And you're a mom and a small business owner. So, I mean, you're part of the backbone of America. How important is it to, people to go to their local florists and
it is
avoid the big box stuff?
So important for people to come out and support their local businesses. Support your local flower shop during Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, any day. But supporting your local businesses helps keep the economy growing and going, and it gives other people the opportunity to see what they can do on their own as well. That people are out here supporting small businesses. It gives them that courage to come out and do it themselves.
Small business is important here in America. It makes up 99% of the employment that's going on, and it, helps out our economy majorly. And also, too, our mamas help out us and the economy, because if it wasn't for mamas, none of us would be here. And we got to remember her. Ariel, you need to remember your mama. Some roses, and everybody else, Chris and Maria and all our other reporters out there. Don't forget to get your mama some flowers, and otherwise you might disappoint her, and we don't want to disappoint mama, because she brought us into this world and made us who we are, sort of, in a way.
That's right. Everybody has a mama.
Everybody has a mama. That's right. So Ariel, Hummingbird Flowers, they'll be having special hours Saturday and Sunday, the day of, but pickings might be slim because, you're right, exactly, we're limited because they'll only have probably leftovers, and you'll have to just take what they got.
Right.
But go ahead and get in early, and you won't have to worry about it. Ariel, I'll put you back to you.
Eli, thanks so much. We'll see you again here upcoming at 3 o'clock. Let's talk about a couple local stories, you guys, I want to let you know about as we continue here, because Georgia's governor has signed a big education package into law. At this point, it includes expanded math instruction as well as student safety here in Georgia as the big priorities. House Bill 1193, also known as the Georgia Early Literacy Act. And ultimately, this legislation was introduced back in February and sponsored by Georgia House Speaker John Burns. According to Burns, only 1 in 3 Georgia students can read at grade level by the end of 3rd grade. So it's a big priority to get this new law passed for lawmakers, because under it, Georgia will place dedicated literacy coaches directly into schools, expand kindergarten offerings, and create a statewide literacy task force. And it's designed to try to strengthen childhood reading here within our state. The governor also signed House Bill 1030, known as the Math Matters Act, and it requires at least 60 minutes of core math instruction each day for students in 4th and 5th grades, and supports advanced math courses beginning in 6th grade. Then House Bill 109 extends that cell phone ban to high school campuses. So similar restrictions were already in place in Georgia's K-8 schools, but now those bans are going to be in place in Georgia's high schools as well. So we'll continue to keep you updated as that moves forward. All right, guys, let's see here if we are able to move things out. Okay, well, let's move on here with one more story, because I want to keep you updated. We have about 30 seconds. That's enough time, right? Let me tell you about the Georgia agriculture chief who wants to investigate a merger involving Cisco. Well, agriculture chief would be none other than Tyler Harper. Georgia's agriculture commissioner is calling for an antitrust investigation into Cisco's purchase of a restaurant Depot. His request cites Cisco's growing market share, rising costs for consumers, and the troubling trend of corporate consolidation in America's food supply. And he's raising concerns over private equity in this merger with Cisco, saying that Restaurant Depot had private ownership while Cisco is a publicly traded firm. So ultimately, he wants to make sure that costs stay affordable for Georgia families. And we've seen this trend grow, right? The Trump administration recently came out with the Justice Department saying that they have completed and are continuing other probes into the United States meatpacking industry because of rising beef costs. So antitrust concerns do seem to be at the focus of a lot of these investigations, and we'll keep you updated right here on Fox Local. We've got a lot of new things headed your way upcoming here at 3 o'clock. Tom Haynes is about to step in. We'll see you right back.
Welcome to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. So glad you're with us this afternoon. I'm Tom Haynes, joined by meteorologist Alex Forbes. As we kick off this hour, Alex, we're concerned about the weather out there. We do have some storms rolling into the area. We do need rain, but we're concerned about the potential for some damaging winds and heavy rain out there.
So, and a tornado risk into the evening. But you're right on the damaging wind front. That's definitely in the driver's seat here. The tornado risk is kind of secondary. And it's hard to explain because it's not a normal tornado risk. What's going to happen is we have a low risk, right? So that's your probability. But your intensity today is a notch higher. So a low risk of strong tornadoes, if that makes sense.
All right.
So let's get to it. We already have storms forming right now, and in fact, I expect these to become severe actually in relatively short order. This is going to be up in northwest Georgia. The reason why I expect them to become severe is because we have a lot of instability in this area. Temperatures are in the 80s, and there's a lot for this to work with. And in fact, it looks like we already have our first skit of the day in Catoosa County. This has a hail size of less than a half inch, but moving east-northeast at almost 60 over there. BTI 2.4. And because we have a BTI, let me just
what is a BTI?
BTI is a barren tornado index. It's a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
Anytime we get above a 4, that's when we raise our eyebrows. But I saw that BTI number and maybe want to check the winds. I don't see any rotation right now, so there's nothing really concerning, at least about that front. So that is up there in northwest Georgia, raining pretty heavily right now on 75 there in Catoosa County, over across northern Whitfield and Murray counties. This is moving now towards Fannin County here in the next 30-ish minutes, and then eventually Gilmer County. So if you're watching from those two spots, I'd be watching these storms as they move towards the east-northeast. But there's going to be a lot more developing down here in this portion of Alabama that's going to coalesce into a line and then push south into metro Atlanta. So let me put some fancy graphics behind the fancy illustration right there and show you what's going on. Again, today is not a crazy severe weather day here in Georgia. We do have a level 3 back in Alabama and Mississippi. We have a level 2 for us in metro Atlanta, and that is for the threat of damaging winds, potentially upwards of 70 miles an hour, but then also the damage or the spin-up tornado risk. Again, the risk is low, but whatever we do see, there's a chance that it's on the stronger side. Also watching the chance of hail, but that is probably last on my concern list. All right, so this is what I'm talking about in terms of a low risk. You see your legend up there in the top right? You got green, brown, yellow, red, pink, purple, and blue. All right, so you got a whole bunch of colors beyond the brown, and that's where metro Atlanta is this evening. But this is what I mean in terms of the intensity, all right? So anywhere in this yellow shaded area, if we get a tornado in that area, which of course does include back into Alabama and Mississippi, this is where tornadoes could get up to EF2 strength. All right, let's time it out hour by hour. That's about what the radar is going to look like around 4 p.m. You see that redevelopment back into Alabama. Those would be supercells. That's where I'm actually concerned about tornadoes out there. Back here in North Georgia, notice you're getting more of a line as they come through. And then that pushes down to the south later on this evening. Well, look how much heavy rain is behind that initial line. That's where your flooding threat is going to come from, and that's why we have a flood watch in place. But a lot of this does stick around, at least in terms of rainfall, through the overnight hours, even though the severe weather threat is going to come to an end by about 2 a.m. and then some more storms possible tomorrow morning. But again, that severe weather threat will conclude, and we're not concerned about strong storms at that time. All right, so this is our rotation potential map, and you see some swaths. All right, those are storms coming through. I don't want you to lock in on the exact location of these. Rather, what I want you to notice is the pattern. There are going to be broadly rotating storms across North Georgia this evening. When you get some of those strong rotation colors, the yellow, the orange, the red, like what you see over the Mulberry area, again, don't lock in on the exact location. That would be probably a tornado-warned storm. That's what this particular model has. I've got other models that say something different. I just want to show you all of the different scenarios here. Of course, we've got the flooding concern, widespread rainfall totals of 1.5 to 2.5 inches, isolated totals up to 4 inches. So you boil it all down, a low tornado threat, a low hail threat, damaging winds definitely more elevated, which, Tom, that's something I lose sight of sometimes, and I don't want to. it doesn't matter how the tree falls, whether it's a damaging wind gust or a tornado, it's the fact that it fell. So I take severe thunderstorm warning seriously, is what I'm trying to say. And you should too into the evening tonight. So today, a Fox 5 storm alert day, 40% chance of storms later this evening. Really, that main chance is going to be overnight tonight, and then the rain chance picking up in time for Mother's Day, 60% chance there. Highs in the 70s Monday and Tuesday. Overnight lows on the cooler side, so kind of a springtime pattern.
All right, so from what I'm gathering, Alex, it's going to be really sort of an 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. window.
No, like now.
No, I mean for the severe stuff, according to your timing.
Now.
Yeah.
To about 2 a.m.
Okay.
So we at least in terms of our area, from Dalton down to Blue Ridge to Rabun County, that's where the severe weather threat is now. It's the storms we were just tracking, and it's going to take until about 2 a.m. to get south of Thomaston and Eaton.
Okay. And we're talking about dry ground.
Dry ground.
Which could lend itself to falling trees.
Yes.
With the heavy winds.
Right.
How do we sort of keep up with this overnight? In other words, you go to bed, you put your phone by your table, but you want to know if something's headed your way.
So, obviously, I love the Fox 5 Storm Team app, but you got to acknowledge something with it, and the fact that if you get a tornado warning, that Storm Team app's not going to wake you up. So the best thing to do is to have the annoying, obnoxious emergency alerts turned on in your phone settings, because that will wake you up. And then people, especially my age, will make fun of me for saying this, but it is true. The most reliable way to receive severe weather information still on April 6th, 2026 is a weather radio. Old weather radios from the 90s and 80s and all this stuff. Even if your power goes out, it's battery powered, it operates off a radio signal, and it will wake you up if that happens. So, I'm not kidding when I say we have one sitting back there in the Storm Center. It's something that is highly recommended, especially into the evening tonight. But again, not a high threat.
We'll keep the Fox Local app up and kind of running tonight. We know you guys are going to be on sort of overnight hours tracking this thing for us.
Yes, and meteorologist Jonathan Stacy and I are actually going to do a special hour streaming from 9 to 10.
Ah, perfect.
This evening, so you can check in for updates.
Kind of right when the crux of this system is starting to move in.
Exactly.
Alex, thanks so much. Got some big news to tell you about, as you've no doubt heard by now. Media mogul Ted Turner passed away today. Ted Turner, of course, the iconic, influential creator, if you will, of cable news, revolutionized how we watched TV and got our news delivered to us. Turner was a visionary, founder of CNN, passed away today at the age of 87, transformed a small Atlanta station into a global media empire, creating the first 24-hour news cycle and the first television superstation. I was fortunate enough to have worked for Ted Turner when he was actually roaming the halls of CNN Center back in the early 2000s. Ran into him a number of times in the elevator. He was a guy that while he was CEO and this famous creator of cable news was in the trenches with us, all right, roaming the newsroom, there when breaking news happened, sitting in the control room watching it all unfold and making his mark there at CNN. True maverick, Turner was also a champion yachtsman, owner of the Atlanta Braves, a true Renaissance man, if you will. Ted Turner, a massive philanthropist who pledged $1 billion to the United Nations. He was especially concerned about nuclear proliferation, somebody that had his eye on the entire world and provided so many opportunities for so many people in the industry, including myself. He recently battled Lewy body dementia, but his legacy as the so-called mouth of the South, Ted Turner's legacy, will live on. 3 people are behind bars in Jackson County, charged in the shooting death of a local boy's therapy pig. This is a story that's been all over social media. Investigators identifying the suspects as Mai Tai Vang Muya, all 3 facing felony charges of aggravated cruelty to animals. Bootsy, a 400-pound pig, was the constant companion of 12-year-old Garrett Cox. His family says that the pig helped the boy build confidence while coping with ADHD and autism. Bootsy the pig was shot last week after escaping her pen. The sheriff's office says the investigation's ongoing as the Cox family seeks justice for Garrett's best friend. Well-known civil rights attorney Ben Crump at the Fulton County Courthouse today at the Commission Building, demanding justice for a man who lost both legs after alleged neglect at the county jail. Let's get out to our Angelique Proctor, who is covering this story for us this afternoon. Angelique?
Well, good afternoon to you, Tom. That is right. Famed civil rights attorney Ben Crump here in Atlanta today, talking directly to the Fulton County Commission. He was one of the speakers during public comment today, and it's all about one of his clients, a former Fulton County inmate, Rashad Mohammed, who ended up having to get his legs and fingers amputated. It's a very heartbreaking story. It's one that we first introduced you to last month. We first told you about this inmate. He is a 33-year-old father who entered the Fulton County Jail and had a very serious bladder condition, a condition that he says he was managing successfully with antibiotics. But he said when he went to the Fulton County Jail, he literally begged for those antibiotics and was not given them. He says that it wasn't until the 11th day of being at the jail and to actually be down on the ground of his cell, just at the point where he could not even speak, other inmates had to notify jail officials that he finally went to Grady Memorial Hospital. And they say that once he got to Grady, he was diagnosed to have been in septic shock and had to ultimately have the amputation of his legs and his fingers. It is really a heartbreaking story.
We demand an independent criminal investigation into the tragic circumstances surrounding Rashad Muhammad losing his hands and his legs. Secondly, we demand transparency. We want to know who extended the contract to the medical provider after LaShawn Thompson died from insect and bug infestation while at the Fulton County Jail. Was it the sheriff or was it the county commission? We demand transparency. And then thirdly, we demand accountability. We demand that each of those county commissioners stand for Rashad and decide one way or the other. Are they going to try to defend the people engaged in deliberate indifference to Rashad's health and welfare, or are they going to stand for justice for Rashad? It's real simple. The doctors had to make a decision when he got to the hospital after being denied his medicine for 11 days. LOL. Either his life he was going to lose or his limbs he was going to lose.
Now, that was Ben Crump talking at a news conference that they had today, but he also addressed the Fulton County Commission. Of course, he had a lot less time when talking to them. He had several members of his legal team to also address the commission, and Mr. Muhammad talked to them directly himself. But after lots of people spoke during public comment about this particular issue, one of the Fulton County commissioners said she had actually heard enough and she had seen enough. Commissioner Khadijah Abdul-Rahman says that she believes it's time for Governor Kemp to get involved. She says that the Fulton County Sheriff, Pat Labatt, should be held responsible for some of this. She would like to see an investigation done by the governor. And of course, that started a whole lot of fireworks. Take a listen.
If our sheriff was a different color, you would see lines down the street getting him out of office. But because he is the same color I am, I'm supposed to turn the other way. I'm not going to do it. Contact the office of the governor, request that he exercise his power to intervene, to investigate, and to consider the suspension of the office of the sheriff. Order, safety, and basic human dignity are restored in our jail system. We serve as your pleasure, and the sheriff serves as your pleasure as well.
We're asking the GBI to do an investigation. You know,
Certainly what happened to Mr. Muhammad is unimaginable. But I don't know that I hold the sheriff responsible for medical issues at the jail.
Custody of a defendant pending trial is in the sheriff of the county wherein the offense was committed, and the responsibility for safe and sure confinement is that of the sheriff. Operational responsibility for county jails is the sole responsibility of the sheriff.
And so they kind of went back and forth as to who is responsible. Was it the sheriff or is it NAFCARE, which is a medical provider that was on duty at that time? And they actually ended up taking executive session. They are still in session here behind me now. They're going to be talking about NAFCARE a little later on. So we're still monitoring a lot of this, but certainly a lot of fireworks today surrounding this very tragic situation involving inmate Muhammad.
Yeah, Angelique, and
back to you in the studio.
Okay, Angelique, I agree, and a lot of voices apparently, weighing in on this obviously very controversial situation. It's anyone's guess where all this lands.
That is the question. Will there be an independent investigation? Now, Commissioner Marvin Arrington, who is an ally of the sheriff's, said that Sheriff Labatt had contacted the GBI today. I have been trying to ask them if that is going to be their official position, because Ben Crump even mentioned the Department of Justice could investigate. So a lot of this is still unfolding right now. I am following all of the twists and turns, but certainly a very serious situation.
Yeah. Obviously creating a highly charged environment there. Angelique Proctor, live for us this afternoon. Angelique, thanks. Well, gas prices are still high out there. If you've been to the gas pump lately, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Georgia drivers paying, in some cases, for premium unleaded, upwards of over $4 a gallon, depending on where you fill up. Georgia drivers waking up to major jumps at the pump as gas prices in the state climb above the $4 mark. According to AAA, the average price for a regular gallon of gasoline in Georgia hit $4.05 overnight, a surge of 14 cents in just one day. Now, gas prices did tick down with news that President Trump is hinting at some sort of agreement with Iran. That sent the stock market markedly higher today, almost again reaching the 50,000 mark. The spike is being driven by volatility in global energy markets as ongoing conflict in the Middle East and the situation in the Strait of Hormuz escalates, with oil tankers being unable to cross that strait. In Metro Atlanta, some drivers are seeing even higher prices, and there is more uncertainty on the horizon. It's anyone's guess how the situation in Iran is going to work out. Georgia's temporary suspension of the state gas tax is set to expire in just a couple of weeks. So will the State House, will the governor step in once again and extend that? Governor Kemp can extend the moratorium, which would give relief to drivers upwards of about 30 cents a gallon in the offing. President Trump says that great progress has been made in Iran, speaking of potentially ending the recent war in the Gulf. As a result, the president has paused Project Freedom, the U.S. mission to reduce hundreds of merchant ships currently blocked in the Persian Gulf. A proposed one-page deal calls for Iran to halt nuclear enrichment in exchange for the U.S. lifting of sanctions and reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. The president weighing in on Truth Social today is saying that assuming Iran agrees to give what's been agreed to, which perhaps is a big assumption, the already legendary Epic Fury will be at an end and the highly effective blockade will allow ships to cross the strait. Trump saying that if Tehran does not comply, U.S. strikes will resume at a much higher level. Diplomats remain skeptical as the Iranian government reviews the proposal. Well, the World Cup is kicking off here in just a short period of time. The Department of Homeland Security has been all but shut down due to an impasse from lawmakers not being able to agree on a funding measure. Soccer fans from around the globe will travel to the United States, Mexico, and Canada to watch the world's favorite sport. But before the games start, the Department of Homeland Security will need to make sure that stadiums are secure. In some cities, local officials have already started making security plans and training first responders in the event of an attack. That's happening right here in our own backyard, as you can see, at Centennial Olympic Park. There was an active shooter training drill in the past couple of days to keep soccer fans and those of us who live in the metro Atlanta area and will be attending the games safe, or activities surrounding the games in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium area. Those drills taking place at Mercedes-Benz inside the stadium as well, because events like this, unfortunately, can play out anytime, anywhere. And it's the mission of the Homeland Security Department to keep everyone safe in conjunction with local law enforcement. So let's listen to what the Secretary of Homeland Security is saying about all this.
Is now Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen. Secretary, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me on, Shannon.
Okay, so funding is back for most of DHS, but not all of it. That is going to be another sweep through Washington that we'll track. But in the meantime, what does it mean, this historic lapse of funding for DHS as far as rebuilding? Are we able to track all the threats that are out there right now?
Well, after 76 days of shutdown, which is an historic shutdown, longest government shutdown in history, it's going to take some time to recover. I mean, were we able to still be mission capable? Yes. Were we able to pick up everything that was being brought to us? No. I mean, just for an example, we had 500 electric bills throughout just the Coast Guard that was in default, and in some cases, we were having to have the State Department and DOW pay the bills. Our gas cards throughout the department, throughout 22 components, was getting turned off, and we was having to have different agencies pay those bills for us. And so we were also having a tremendous amount of morale issues. So we had a large turnover. Just in CISA, we're down 1,100 people. TSA was down 8%, which typically we have about a 4.6% turnover there. We have agencies that were almost completely furloughed, and so now we're getting back up to speed. I'll use one more example too. In the Coast Guard, they have one agency that does nothing but license barges and vessels for United States waters. They're 18,000 vessels behind, and even if we did nothing but just work on the vessels behind, it would take us till the end of July to get them licensed and back on the water. That's going to have a huge impact on what happens throughout transportation, what happens with recreational vehicles. And this is all because the Democrats wanted to have open borders and allow criminals to flow freely on the streets, and it makes absolutely no sense, Shannon. But morale is high, and we're laser focused on delivering for the American people.
And that is good to hear, because the games kick off not too long from now, in just over a month, in Mexico City. The U.S. is also playing host to a huge game out in Los Angeles around the same time against Paraguay. So we'll be, of course, following developments leading up to the big games, many of them, I believe 8 of them, happening right here in Atlanta. As we continue, a former Noonan family minister convicted of some despicable crimes. Our Doug Evans on top of the story when we come back. Welcome back, everybody, to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm your host, Tom Haynes, for the hour here, bringing you up to date on all the stories making news today, including our weather situation out there. Some storms expected to roll in between really now and overnight. Meteorologist Alex Forbes, Jonathan Stacy in the Fox 5 Storm Center tracking them as they roll through. And we'll have continual updates both here on Fox Local and on air on Fox 5 Atlanta. So do stay with us. Meantime, a former Noonan family minister charged with exploiting children has now been convicted and sentenced. Let's get out to Doug Evans live in Coweta County with reaction from prosecutors. Really despicable crimes here, Doug, considering the position that this man had.
Yeah, we've been covering this case since April of 2024, Tom. We're talking about James Morgan Gravely. He was a family minister at a local church. Fox 5 News has decided not to name that church. And the reason is because investigators told us that none of his activities, his online activities involving children, had anything to do with the church. They also said that there was no information whatsoever that any children at the church in which he was a minister were ever in harm's way. So that is one of the reasons why we're not naming the church. But he was a family minister here for many years. According to his own court records, he was married with 3 children. In 2024, he was arrested by the Coweta County Sheriff's Office after a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that he was in possession of child pornography. Investigators at the time told us that they found multiple videos of children involved in sexual activity. These videos on his electronic devices. He was arrested, later indicted on 4 counts of the same charge. He's now pled guilty here in Coweta County Court. The judge sentencing him to multiple 20-year sentences for each count. It's expected that he will serve at least 10 years in prison and then have to deal with the consequences of registering as a sex offender here in the Coweta County area. Tom?
It's really hard to wrap your mind around the position that this man had in a church as a minister, in contact with so many families, possibly children, and then this discovery of child pornography, the conviction and now the sentence. There must be a tremendous sense of relief in that community that this man no longer has that kind of access to people.
Yeah, and apparently hasn't had access for some time. His position terminated there at the church, and also he was out on bond, but very strict restrictions placed upon him during the 2 years in which he was out on bond. And so he hasn't had access, as you clearly pointed out, to the church family or to any young people here in the community based on the bond restrictions, now going to prison for at least 10 years.
I hate to throw unfair questions at you, and if it is, just let me know. But, the folks.
And you always do.
I do. But in Coweta County, it seems especially, or the South Metro, they're so good at tracking down people like this, finding them, prosecuting them. What led investigators to this guy in the first place, and how did they go about tracking him down?
Yeah, as we've told our audience many times, Tom, in the discussions that you and I have had here on Fox Local, the Coweta County Sheriff's Office has an Internet Crimes Against Children's unit solely for the purpose of investigating Internet crimes against children. And so they do a great deal of work. A lot of departments do not have their own specific unit that is tasked with that. It falls to an investigator in a criminal investigations division or something like that, people who handle a variety of cases. In this case, this person handles solely this. And so they take it very seriously here. And we've done numerous interviews with Coweta County Sheriff Lynn Wood about that. This tip came from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That is one of the resources, the many resources that they use for these. They're called ICAC investigations, Internet Crimes Against Children investigation. It starts from Washington, D.C., filters down to Georgia through the GBI, from the GBI to local agencies like Coweta County, who then investigate it. They investigate the IP address that this alleged activity starts with. Then they try to pinpoint that IP address to a residence, and then once at the residence, then try to pinpoint who was using the computer and who might be involved in these alleged crimes.
It's just so reassuring that law enforcement has those kind of resources down there, and that justice has finally been served in this case. Doug Evans reporting live for us here on Fox Local this afternoon. Doug, appreciate it very much. Let's talk about Governor Brian Kemp signing a sweeping education package into law, we understand. This is happening today, as a matter of fact, and it's aimed at rewriting the narrative for Georgia students. The new laws include the Georgia Early Literacy Act, which invests $70 million to place literacy coaches in every elementary school across the state. So the governor making some big moves, even though his term will come to an end shortly. The package also features Math Matters, requiring at least 1 hour of core math instruction daily for 4th and 5th graders. And in an effort to cut down on classroom distractions, Georgia, as you know, expanding its bell-to-bell cell phone ban to include all public high schools. House Speaker John Burns says that these measures will make a generational difference, ensuring more students are focused and reading on grade level and prepared for the future, something that a lot of parents have expressed gratitude for the state creating and enforcing that kind of law. Georgia Agriculture Commissioner Tyler Harper is calling for a federal investigation into a massive merger that he says could send food prices soaring. This is a story you heard about in the 2 p.m. streaming hour, one that we've been following really all day now. Harper sent a letter to the DOJ and the FTC urging antitrust probes into Sysco's proposed acquisition of Restaurant Depot. Sysco is the largest food distributor in the country, and Harper warns that further consolidation will squeeze American farmers and drive up costs for local restaurants and consumers. The commissioner also raised red flags over the role of private equity firms, comparing the move to institutional investors buying up single-family homes in Georgia, something that not only the state has addressed, but federal authorities are talking about as well. Harper asking the Trump administration to maintain a farmer-first agenda by blocking the multi-billion-dollar deal, the president pledging his support to farmers on numerous occasions. When we come back here on the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local, I want to talk about a new partnership aimed at men in particular and prostate health, something that is very important and we're covering here next when we come back. Welcome back, everybody, to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local, where we are always live for you. We want to talk about a new partnership aimed at closing health gaps for men, particularly in Cobb County. Fox 5's Maria Guzman is here with us in Marietta, where a free mobile cancer screening clinic is helping those without insurance.
We're at the parking lot here at Schweitzer Library in Cobb County, where this parking lot has been turned into a mobile clinic for men to get free screening for prostate cancer. Now, this is a partnership that's with Cobb County Libraries and Emory Winship. And a big reason why they're working together and making this happen is, for one, to increase health accessibility, right? Also just to bring early detection to the forefront, and also just decrease any health barriers that might exist that prevents someone from going and getting a screen. So with me, I do have here Roy Barnes, who helps lead this mobile clinic. So Roy, just thank you so much for being here with us. So just the first question, I know we were talking about how fast this process is. So if I was a patient, just for any patient, what's the process by the time they enter the blue bus?
So let me start by saying it takes 10 minutes from start to finish. It's pretty quick. So what you'll do is you'll walk on the bus there, you make a right, have a seat in our chairs, get registered for our MyChart system through Emory. We'll get you registered in the Emory system, and then our MA will give you a call to the center of the bus, or the middle section, do the blood draw. If you have any questions, our APP will answer any questions that you have, and kind of give you some more insight on the care path afterward, if there is a need for it. But like I said, it's pretty quick. The hardest part is, I would say, filling out the paperwork, and that's not long at all.
So it's very quick. It's about 10 minutes.
Yes.
Now, when you tell that to patients, are they often surprised how fast and efficient it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So most patients think that it's going to be a whole exam, and it's going to take up a lot of their time. So when I explain to them that it's 10 minutes, they're like, oh, okay. They're more inclined to do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's true. Honestly, we can get them on and off the bus in under like 10 minutes.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
And I know a big mission for you guys is to break any health barriers that can prevent someone from going to get a screen, right? Even if that's like a busy work schedule or transportation. So just what are some of the common reasons that you guys hear why people don't go and get a screening?
Yeah, so what we found is men are kind of apprehensive about going to the doctor. So we thought that a good initiative for the program, and other people thought it as well, would be to bring the program and the bus to the communities. So we want to meet men where they are and help them with screening, in the community, whether it be they're at work or we're next to their house or something like that. We want to bring the resources to them.
Yeah, and when people learn that this is for anyone, right, even if they have insurance or not, is there a sense of relief that they feel knowing that this is a free resource that they can use?
Yeah, absolutely. We always reiterate that it's a no-cost screening, so we don't need insurance, we don't need a credit card, debit card, nothing. So all we are trying to do is educate, create awareness, and screen as many men as possible so we can give back and just help the community. So it's absolutely free, no cost. They love that.
That's awesome. And I know you mentioned that this is the first time you guys bring the big blue bus into the premise of a library like this. Yes. So what other event, or just for anyone who wants to take advantage of this resource, just when's the next time you guys are going to be back?
So we'll be back at this specific location May 24th. So we'll be back here. And then we also have plenty of events scheduled throughout the year in which we'll be traveling all around the metro Atlanta and rural Georgia areas to provide those screenings. So if you're interested, just look us up on emoryhealthcare.com/prostate screening unit, and then you'll see our schedule on the website.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I know there might be some walls that can prevent people from going to either get a checkup or go see a doctor. So your message to just fellow men to get a screening, right, to do their due diligence and go see a doctor or just get a free screening like this.
Yeah, so, guys, come on out. It's 10 minutes from start to finish. 10 minutes is well worth time spent for a lifetime of security and just knowing that you're okay. I promise you, it's not that big of a deal. Let's get you out here. Come on. Come on the blue bus. Yeah.
Yes, and then just last question. I know you guys have seen a lot of people, so just tell me about how many people have been able to get a screening so far today.
So far today, we've had 19 men screened.
Gotcha. Is that a busy day for you guys?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're happy with one man, to be honest with me, because one man will tell another one and another one. So that's creating that awareness and that buzz. But 19, we're satisfied with.
Awesome. All right. Well, just thank you so much for being here today, and it's been also awesome just to learn about this resource and how you guys are helping to close any health barriers. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you all for having
me.
Thank you for having us.
So for anyone who is interested, they can learn more through Emory Woodship. All the way from Cobb County, I'll send things back to you.
So encouraging and so supportive, Maria. Thanks so much. Well, moving on here, it is National Signing Day at Roswell High School, but not for athletics. Let's get out to Chris Rosenthal, where a dozen students, Chris, we understand, are committing to careers in the skilled trades. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Those students, this just wrapped up, but those students took to this table today and signed their commitment, their intentions to go into the skilled trades. Some of them already getting jobs, some of them committing to go on to a post-secondary education in the skilled trades. Again, about a dozen students here. You know, Roswell High School has a pretty robust construction class where they learn a lot of those skills here, and so really primed and ready to go into skilled trades. And this comes at a really important time. We talk about this a lot. Skilled trades, there is a shortage and a lack of those laborers going into those industries. So there really is a hole there that programs like this are really helping to fill. Of course, this was at Roswell High School. This is part of a larger program nationwide, 5,000 students signing on. There's also some at Maxwell High School here in Lawrenceville and other areas. But I'm joined by Ash Mangum. He is with Construction Ready. You're one of the partners here in all of this. And tell me, the skilled trades, there's often been kind of a stigma for that in the past, the vocational tech students, but we're really turning that around here, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. For far too long, it was that the skilled trades pathway were a secondary option, really highly overlooked. Right now, what we're proud to say as an organization, Construction Ready is helping elevate that to a primary option. So for a lot of students, they want to go to college. They know exactly what they want to pursue. That career involves a college degree. For a lot of students, they may not know that yet. And for a lot of students, they've been in a program like the construction program here at Roswell High School, and they know that they can go straight into work, straight into the workforce right out of high school, right after graduating. So yeah, we love getting that word out. We love elevating the skills. We love educating students on those opportunities and showing them, teaching them. You don't have to just be a sign turner. There's a vast array of opportunities in the construction industry. And so we love getting that word out, and we love seeing students like today who are committing to that, and they're going to go on to have amazing careers.
We talk about the shortage. So tell me a little bit about the shortages, how they help fill that.
Sure. So most estimates say that right now in the state of Georgia, there are around 10,000 construction-related skilled trades opportunities available. And gosh, if you think about the numbers, you've got a lot of folks who are retiring and not a lot of folks who are coming behind to replace those. So for these students, to give them opportunities with companies that are hungry to receive them, we tell them all the time, you don't have to know every single skill there is to go into the field that you want to go into. What you need to do is learn how to be a great employee. And if you can be a great employee, the opportunities are boundless and endless. So you may start at the bottom, but you're going to work your way up really, really quickly. And if you prove yourself, one day you could be owning that company.
Yeah, and making your own hours and your own way there. These students, tell me a little bit, more specifically, the opportunities these 12 students are going into, some of the companies, some of the areas they're going to.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, the construction trades, like I said, are a vast array of opportunities. But you're talking about carpentry, you're talking about plumbing, you're talking about, we've even got some welding programs that we support. So the opportunities are endless. Electrical, if anybody's ever had to hire a plumber, if you've ever had to hire an electrician, you know what those guys are making. And so for us to open the door for these students to, honestly, probably most of the students who sign today with a company, they'll be making six figures in the next 5 years, right out of high school. And that's unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's, without the, not knocking a college degree, but, that's great for certain people, but, without having the payment of that, of course.
Yeah, that's right. We have a student loan debt crisis in our nation. And the students who have committed today to going straight into the workforce, they're going to avoid all of that. They're not going to have the burden of student loan debt for the next 5-10 years. Like I said, they're going to be making six figures when their classmates who went to a four-year degree, and that's if they finish that degree. Right now, in the state of Georgia, less than half of students who begin a college degree will finish that degree within 5 years. And the rest of them, honestly, kind of just are blowing in the wind. They don't know what they're going to do. But these students are going to be making that money when their classmates who even finished the degree have that student loan debt.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for joining us, Ash. A bright future ahead. We look forward to seeing where these 12 students go, and where all these students go that have committed to a signing day here across the country.
Love these stories on skilled trade, job opportunities, resources to train these folks to get them up to speed and out there working. Chris Rosenthal live for us this afternoon. Chris, thanks so much. When we come back, it's a big weekend for moms out there. We're going to talk all things moms and flowers when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. So happy you're with us here on the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. I'm your host, Tom Haynes. Mother's Day is just days away now. Local florists are racing to the finish line, all right, getting those flower orders in. And our Eli Jordan live at Hummingbird Flowers in Hampton with a look at what it takes, Eli, to get all those flowers out. A lot of demand coming up this weekend.
No, there's a lot of demand. It's like sweeps, except for flowers. You know, we got our sweeps, our radiance period, but now this is the big time for florists. I mean, they had a Valentine's Day back in February, but this is their bigger one here, or just as big. And I'm at Hummingbird Flowers in Hampton at 10 Northeast Main Street, right in the center of downtown Hampton. It's a really cool little town. I like it. It's got a little train track running through it. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to take you backstage where they're putting all the flowers together, and this isn't even going to be what it's going to be like tomorrow or the next day. Right now, it's just Cindy and Pamela. Hey, Pamela, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing all right, Pamela Deshin. You're the owner here, right?
I am.
And so tell me, real quick, you're impacting the economy by being a florist because you have to hire seasonal help, correct?
I sure do. This weekend, we're probably looking at about 8 people coming in seasonal to help out with Mother's Day, which is a huge day for a flower shop.
So you got to hire 8 extra people to come in.
8 extra people to come in.
So you're normally not open on Sundays, but this Sunday?
We're going to be open from 9 to 3. Special hours just for Mother's Day. Don't forget your mama. Everybody has a mama.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody has a mom. If it wasn't for moms, none of us would be here.
That's right.
But so all right. So you're going to be open on Sunday. Is that just for putting together arrangements, or are you going to be delivering?
We're going to be taking orders. We're going to be delivering orders. We're going to be accepting walk-ins. 10 Northeast Main Street. Come on and see us. We're going to be here. We're going to have extended hours on Saturday as well. Normally we're open from 10 to 2, but we'll be open from 10 to 5 on Saturday as well.
All right, but we got to show Mom a little bit more priority and not wait until the last day to order. Because if we do wait till the last day, we might not be able to get what we want, like these really cool moms right here. I call these British moms, but I like these. I like the purple in there, and they got a lot of depth. But I mean, it will be kind of slim pickings on Sunday if you order, or even if you order late Saturday, correct?
Correct. You want to get your orders in at least up until Friday by 5. But the sooner the better. Don't wait.
Sooner the better. But if you're working, or if you just have a brain fart or something, you can order. You can still order on Sunday.
You can still order on Sunday. We're still going to be here open servicing.
So if you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, it's Mother's Day, and
come running down.
You better come down here and get it down to Hampton and over at Hummingbird Florist. So tell me, if I get them early and I'm worried about keeping them fresh, I mean, if I pick these up tomorrow morning, will these still look the same? Or
they're going to look exactly the same.
How should I treat them?
You could just, if you're not ready to give it to Mom, you could put it in your fridge, keep it cool until it's the day to give it to Mom. You could tell Mom after she gets it, she could take the flowers out. We're going to give some food for her to be able to put new water, give it a fresh cut, put the food in, and put the flowers back in the vase.
The food, you talk about the little white powder we talk about,
That's right?
So, and you guys provide the white powder too, just to keep it going.
We sure do. We have boxes of it. Every order goes out with some
so that'll help keep them nice and fresh for
That's right.
about at least a week or two, right?
At least a week or two.
Awesome. Well, I know you guys are going to be busy, and guys, Tom, if you haven't ordered yet, you need to do it now so you can get what you want. Don't let fall victim to having to get the leftovers. But it's a big weekend for florists all over, especially here at Hummingbird in Hampton. They're having to work extra hours for Mom.
Beautiful arrangements there. I love it. If it weren't for our moms, we wouldn't be here, as said by Eli Jordan. Eli, thanks for the encouragement for all of us procrastinators to honor Mom. Eli, thanks. And thank you for joining us here for the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. I'm your host, Tom Haines. Don't go anywhere. The news continues right here, right now.